Yes? Okay. Welcome, everyone. As a reminder, per Contra Costa County Health Services requirements, masks are required indoors for all persons regardless of vaccination status. I fully acknowledge that people have strong feelings about mask wearing. I recognize that not everyone agree with the mask requirements. I understand your frustration. I would like to sincerely thank everyone in attendance for your cooperation in wearing a mask during today's meeting while in this building. Okay, so as I mentioned, let's see. Uh, yeah, hi there. Okay, so um, this meeting is being live streamed on the district's YouTube channel, and a link to recording has been posted to the district website. I'd like to introduce my board members, Vice President Ken Mintz, Clerk Rachel Hurd,
Good evening.
board members Laura Bratt
Hello.
and Shelley Clark,
Hello.
and then have our student board member, Ronit Batra.
Good evening.
And our student board member can cast a preferential vote, which shall not affect the final numerical outcome of a vote, but will be recorded to the minutes. Okay, right now, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, right now, report of action taken in closed session. I'd like to report out that this evening the board made the following appointment, which is the Director of Communications and Community Relations will be Ilana Samuels. Seven acceptance of minutes. May I have a motion to accept the minutes of August 3rd, 2021?
So moved.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Call out vote. Board Member Clark?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz?
Aye.
Board Member Ordway?
Aye.
Student Board Member Batra?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
8.1, acceptance of open session agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, and do you need to? No, okay. Guys, I had a request for another movie.
We're doing consent.
No, this is the open agenda.
Excuse us.
Sorry about that. We just had a little bit to connect on the agenda itself. I'm asking President Ordway if we could move the superintendent's report up in the agenda, just because if it comes earlier, especially after all of the comments that are made, I can probably offer more insights and perspectives earlier in the meeting. So it would need to be, and now I will look to Cindy to assist. It would move from where to where, please, based upon your guidance?
We're going to move it to 9.5, please.
So you want to move it to 9.5 or 9.6?
9.6.
You want to
Sorry.
follow
So,
public comment.
9.6. Sorry about that.
I will move the amended open session agenda.
And I'll second.
Thank you. The motion was made by Board Member Mintz and seconded by Board Member Hurd. Call out vote. Board Member Clark?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz?
Aye.
Board Member Ord?
Aye.
Student Board Member Batra?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, great. Reports to the board. 9.1, Hispanic Heritage Month. Oh, sorry, I skipped consent agenda. 8.2, approval of consent agenda. Consent items are considered routine in nature and approved by combining them into a single vote. A member of the board or a member of the public may request the consent item be removed from the consent agenda to be considered and voted on separately. Is there a request to move any items from consent? Board members, public? No? Then may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
I second.
The motion was made by Board Member Bratt and seconded by Board Member Clark. Call out vote. Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz. Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Student Board Member Batcha.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, 9, Hispanic, his Heritage Month. So the Director of Education Equity, Hong Wen, will help us with this one.
Hi, my name is Hong Nguyen, and I'm the Director of Education Equity. I'm here to present on the Hispanic Heritage Month, which will take place September 15th through October 15th. So we have a quote from Cesar Chavez: "We need to help students and parents cherish and preserve the ethnic and cultural diversity that nourishes and strengthens this community and this nation." So for our Hispanic Heritage Month, that's from September 15th through October 15th. It celebrates histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors come from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central as well as South America. So as we look at our Hispanic Heritage Month, it is celebrated at school sites, and we want to make sure the community is aware of some of the events that are going on. So through communication from the school, that our communities will be able to hear as well as be able to experience it. Our site librarians are encouraged to highlight books to teach our students the rich history of Hispanic Americans and their contributions. We also have classroom staff that's encouraged in reviewing as well as selecting and implementing a variety of curricular activities. At our school sites, we also partner with groups and organizations such as our PTA to bring our Hispanic Heritage Month to life for our students. Within researching, we also look at different vantage points and providing materials as well as links to our communities as well as to our teachers to be able to teach the curricular activities to our students. And then also really looking at resources such as book lists, multimedia, articles, having discussions, art, writing, and all online resources are ways for us to engage our students. And so as we look at more of what we do, we want to make sure that we're providing diverse backgrounds as well as diverse materials for our students, and for us to really educate our students around Hispanic Heritage Month is important. I do have a video here from a couple of students from Rancho Romero. They are 5th graders, and they are going to be presenting a group Peruvian style cookies that they really love.
Hi everyone, I'm Gabriel. And I'm Sebastian. And we're going to teach you a little bit about Peru and show you how to make a Peruvian treat called alfajores that is often served at birthday parties. First, let's tell you a bit about Peru. Peru is located in South America and its capital is Lima. Most people there speak Spanish, but some speak the native language Quechua. Many years ago, the Incas inhabited Peru. Here you can see a picture of Machu Picchu, which is a famous old Peruvian town where the Incas used to live. So, how to make alfajores? you get 2 cookies, which are made out of flour, cornstarch, sugar, and butter. Here, you fill it with something called manjar blanco, which is made out of milk and sugar. You just put that in between your 2 cookies. Then you put another cookie on top of it. The last step is you get some powdered sugar and top it all off. This looks great. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
And those are 2 of our current students that we have in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. Okay, 9.2, Attendance Awareness Month. So, our coordinator, Sarah Acosta-Landry.
Good evening. Thank you. I'm excited to talk to you about September being our Attendance Awareness Month. This year has started out differently than ever before, and that's because we really paid special attention to celebrating our students and making sure they know that we care. Why is that important? That's because we know that students who feel welcome at school are students who are most likely to engage in school and attend. And the research tells us that there is a strong correlation between students who are engaged in school and their academic success. So let's take a look at a few examples of how we celebrate students in SRVUSD, both in person and virtually. We've got great examples here from Iron Horse Middle School, from Greenbrook Elementary, and a little virtual welcome as well. Here we've got our welcome back posters. We've got science classes at Gale Ranch Middle School. Love having kids back on campus. And then we've got even our librarians at Doherty Valley High School and a cutout of Mr. Powell welcoming kids back as well. At Cal High, we've got kids on campus with balloons and special murals welcoming them home. And at Pine Valley Middle School, special activities to welcome kids as well. So really, what is this about, our focus on attendance? It's really about being sure we're raising awareness in our community around the correlation between students who attend and engage in school and their academic success. And it's also about supporting students' social and emotional well-being, because we know those kids, when they feel socially and emotionally supported, they're more likely to engage. And ultimately, we want all of our students, whether they are in person, virtually, or they have to stay home because of illness during these uncertain times. We want all of them to feel supported and welcomed in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Just a reminder that please put your mask over your nose. Thank you. 9.3, 2021-2022 District Committee Plan. Assistant Superintendent Christine Fargo.
Good evening. Thank you, trustees. I'm here this evening to present our San Ramon Valley Unified Committee Plan work for the 2022 school year. And if you wouldn't mind assisting me, I don't have the clicker, so thank you. So what is district committee work? So in the past, district committee work has really focused on math, English, climate, culture, DLAC, many different aspects of our district. And in the past, our parents, administrators, board liaisons, and district staff have participated in helping us lead that work over the course of the last couple years. What we'd like to do with our new district committees is really frame our work to focus on our strategic directions and our plan. We really want to take the work that our individual district committees are doing and funnel that feedback, motivation, and energy that involves our students, parents, teachers, and administrators, and our board liaisons back up to our new strategic directions. How will the district committees change for the 2021-22 school year? As you can see over on the left-hand side, we have many different district committees that run throughout the year. A lot of these committees, some are mandatory. SELPA, our CAC meeting is mandatory. Our ELAC meetings are mandatory. What we'd like to do is continue to have our meetings function and run for those that are mandatory to have to occur, but but to funnel them into one of our strategic directions. And if you see over on the right-hand side, we've broken that up into 3 groups: deep learning and innovation, equity, and social emotional well-being. The idea being is that the feedback is constantly flowing from the groups, the committees, up to the main deep learning, equity, and SCL well-being groups, and back up to our strategic direction, and eventually to the Board of Education, and then funneling back down with a back and forth process that will allow us to really engage in meaningful conversation with community members. The committee work will work this way for this year. We have on the right-hand side our 3 main committees: social emotional well-being, equity, and deep learning. And on the left-hand side, we have many of the other committees that run in conjunction in partnership with education services: our parcel tax, our student senate, our access to excellence, and our facilities oversight and advisory committee. All these committees will continue to run, and they will eventually feed up to the strategic directions, providing feedback, which eventually will go up to the board and then back down in a similar fashion. What we really want to focus on is taking the work in those 3 groups and allowing people to engage in meaningful conversations in subcommittees, having the opportunity to study, wrestle with concepts, learn together, have student feedback, teacher feedback, parent feedback, really funnel back and forth through the system, which we really have not done a great job of in the past. So I feel like this opportunity with our new strategic direction and plan allows us to take that committee work in a meaningful way and allow people to really help us structure and reframe the impact of those directions in our classrooms with our students. Our next steps are today we are hosting this presentation with the Board of Education to communicate to you and to our community around what our plans are. We'd like to move forward with existing current members being shared with an email from their existing committee around next steps to be able to join one of our new 3 larger committees. We're going to invite members of the public, staff, students, administrators to join those committees, anyone that's interested in participating. We're going to create the committees. We're going to have our board members be liaisons on those committees. And then if you go to the next slide, thanks, Logan. We're going to share what the expectations are of members so that they're able to support in any way that they're able to. Our lead committees are going to meet 4 times a year: October, November, February, and April. And then our steering committees are going to meet several times a year to provide feedback to the larger lead committee. We hope this work will really structure the feedback loops back up to our strategic directions, which eventually are impacting our students in the classroom and allow us to make meaningful change and work to our best efforts. So thank you.
And if I could just add one comment, on September 14th at our board meeting, I'm going to be bringing in a brief report explaining how all of these feedback loops happen, so that you can see how we will be taking responsibility each month to bring forward a portion of our strategic plan, what each report will entail, what the rationale is for those points, and to have some feedback from you regarding that. And there was also one committee that I asked Assistant Superintendent to put into the presentation just so it was all in one place, and that was the Access to Excellence Committee. I'm actually going to be bringing that to you at the September 14th meeting, explain my proposal regarding that, and to get your approval of it. And that will happen at September 14th. That connects to the component of our strategic direction related to revenues and ensuring that we have the standards that our students deserve in the San Ramon Valley Unified School District at all 36 sites. So I just wanted to give that caveat that that's coming a little bit later, but we didn't want to exclude it from this report so that if people are looking at it, they wonder where that particular committee has gone. So I just offer that as an important point of clarification.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask a question? Christine, can you go back to the slide where you showed the lower level committees, and could you readdress or explain how the interaction works? I think I heard you say that those won't go away. It's just they now feed into it.
Right. So the idea being, one more back, I believe, and thank you. So the idea being that many of these committees individually met, and they really didn't have a place to funnel the action that eventually impacted the directions we were making in a very strategic we have now with our new strategic direction.
So they're not going anywhere.
They're not
They just
going
now
anywhere.
They have a
Yes,
structure.
they have a home that they can now report to where their feedback is being heard by other members of the community, and then in turn will help us change, shift, make any necessary additions or impacts to our strategic direction.
Right, thank you. That's all I need.
Can I ask a quick question too? Will you be looking into ways to recruit a broader spectrum of stakeholders into the committees? So is there a plan, or will you be looking into that?
Yes, that is part of where you saw in the next invite new members. Working very closely with our communications teams about the best way to do that, much like we did when we established our focus groups earlier on in the year and really made a concerted effort to reach out to many different families, parents, teachers, make sure we had a equitable, balanced group of people and voice.
And I think that we can certainly ensure that the diversity of our community is represented on our committees. And we can do that in a number of different ways, but we're going to see what happens when we put the net out first. And then where there may be a need for us to invite based upon gaps that emerge, we'll do that.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. 9.3, 2020, oh, sorry. Sorry about that. 9.4, child nutrition update. Oh, I'm sorry, yes. 9.3, we do have a public comment card on 9.3. Helen of Doherty Valley.
Sorry, I'm running around because you're stacking the meetings of the district and my council meeting together. I really encourage you guys next time to please avoid stacking meetings together because you're discouraging people to participate. I want to speak to the committees because I know that participated in the past and I'm a conservative Christian and I feel like my view is always undermined. You listen, but you don't present it. And there are a lot of liberals and they outnumber us. You know that in California, it's 3-1. So these days you're still protecting the liberals. I think you're a little bit like not with, what's going on. You don't have the facts. The conservatives are now the minority. You need to listen to us. And whenever I speak, you need to make sure you do it on like sports team, conservative, liberal. When I speak and it sounds like conservative, you need to put it in the conservative team and present my point of view instead of because there's 3-1 to outnumber me. So you underestimate me. That's inequitable. Thank you.
Okay, we're moving on to 9.4, child nutrition update. Director, Child Nutrition and Warehouse, Zeta Riker, will help us here.
Good evening, trustees. It's nice to see you for the first time. My name is Zeta Riker, and I'm the new director of Child Nutrition in the House. So thank you for inviting me to speak tonight. We have been quite busy since school opened, as I know you all have as well. So I'd like to give you an update on how things are going. So I'm going to give you just a brief overview of where we were, where we are now, and where we are headed. So flashback a couple years ago, it seems so long ago. Cost of lunch was about $4.25 to $4.75. The menu featured a large amount of a la carte items, more snack kind of items. There were meals, but that was not the focus. Participation was around 5,000 lunches a day. In 2019, 2020, there was a shift and a reduction in sugar and a start of a review of process, a shifting away from snack items to more meals, and then the pandemic hit. And so we all know what happened with schools being closed, and the child nutrition team rose to the challenge. And over the course of the time, 750,000 meals were served. Very, very impressive. I do want to just say that I agree with the child and warehouse team, and actually all of classified and those the program. These employees work very, very hard, and they worked all through the pandemic, serving meals and being out, ensuring that no child went hungry. So they worked very hard to get ready for school this year, and we planned like nervous soon-to-be parents for the first time, waiting and planning and trying to figure out what was going to happen. There was a change in the federal regulations, and the waivers that were enacted during the COVID pandemic were extended, and free meals are available to all students again this year. So we nervously prepared as much as we could, and the first day of school started, and it went off like a bang. And we have twice the number of students participating in the program now. We have twice the number of students participating. As I mentioned, we had about 5,000 before the pandemic, and we're serving about 12,000. So this didn't happen without some significant operational growing pains, which is exciting, but it is put some strain on the operation. These strains are not unique to nutrition and warehouse departments, and they're certainly not unique to San Ramon. Districts all across the nation are experiencing these issues, and school food, it's a time of real excitement for everyone and so much possibility, but there are certain operational realities when you are the largest restaurant in town that suddenly had double the amount of people come in. So we've had a pretty significant staffing shortage and the ability to hire. We've had limited supply chain and pretty severe disruptions. The central kitchen where we were operating out of previously, that was co-located at Cal High, we've outgrown it. We don't have the refrigeration space nor the equipment and the facilities required to produce that volume of meals. And I specifically also wanted to highlight at the high school, it's also a bit of a pinch point because there's a 35-minute meal period, and it's recommended by the California Department of Ed that students have at least 20 minutes to sit and eat their meal. So we have to serve those students in 15 minutes. Now, I want to take Doherty as an example. Pre-pandemic, we were serving 360 meals at Doherty. I don't know how many of you have been at a high school for lunch, especially when there's one meal period, but it's an exciting affair. Now picture it serving 1,400 meals in 15 minutes. It is a sight to be seen, but we're doing it. The team is doing it, and they're doing an amazing job. But needless to say, we've had to make some pretty severe adjustments to be able to account for that growth. So how have we been addressing these constraints? So one area that we have focused on is we've had to set up what I call speed lines. And this is an example of one of the speed lines at Doherty. Basically, all the items are prepackaged. The students come through the line and grab the items and pick up and go. And it flows, as I showed in the slide earlier, we're able to serve between 16 and 11 students per minute across Doherty High. I think we had 8 or 9 stations. So it's an enormous amount of pressure. So we've set up almost across the board where we could these speed lines, also at the elementary, to be able to serve students quickly and efficiently. So another lever that we've had to pull is to be able to produce the volume of meals while also balancing the constraint around serving nutritious and healthy meals. We have brought in an outside meal vendor, Revolution Foods. The meals are freshly prepared 36 hours before at a massive central kitchen in San Lorenzo. And it's enabled us to offer more variety, give some break to the child nutrition staff, and just the operations in general, while also balancing serving the kids the best meals that we can. We did move our central kitchen operation from Cal High to the warehouse, and we rented cargo containers, refrigeration units to be able to grow and expand. But the facility is also not designed as a central kitchen, so we're adjusting under those operations. And so yeah, so 40% of the meals are coming in from the outside vendor. And then also, yeah, just making other operational changes. So we know that this is not a program that we envision of where we want to go. We know that we can serve the students a better experience. And food, school food is more than just food. It's equity and inclusion. Especially, go back to that high school. The experience is more than just food. It's time with their friends. It's the amount, not having to walk across campus to separate from their friends. It's feeling connected. It's feeling valued and having a joyful lunch experience, not a stressful lunch experience. Feeling nourished so that you can absorb the amazing academics that are provided in this district. The program will be developmentally appropriate, so it will look different and be experienced different from, say, a first grader will experience the program differently than an 11th grader, right? So those are two very different developmental stages, and the meal program should reflect that as well. So elementary students would have exposure to things like why should you eat a rainbow of colors and be exposed to that. Middle school students should be having more independence, experiencing more choice, but also having structure at lunch because they still are young and they need that guidance. High school will be more like meeting them where they are at because they're basically doing anything but sitting down at lunch. And also giving them an active voice and input in the program that is designed to serve them. I also want to speak on the menu. So we know that the menu is something that needs work, and that is a focus of ours, and it is something that will require investment and some time to do. So where are we headed? So we need to do research and we need to do stakeholder engagement to truly design a program that reflects the needs of the San Ramon Valley community. We need to hear from them on what they need, and we need to engage with the students, staff, including the staff, because they're the ones that are running the program as well, as to what their desires are and what their needs are. So in terms of what the program will do for specifics beyond an improved menu, I don't have specifics for you today because we don't know exactly what the community, what we know is coming out of the research. There are certainly some best practices and other things that we can pull from other districts, but I'm very, very, very excited to see what's going to come out of the work and what program we're going to design for San Ramon Valley.
Thank you so much, Seta. I mean, I know this is a big lift, especially the numbers that you were showing us of what was served before and what is being served now, right? I just have a couple of questions. I know currently because, to help fulfill, right, the lunches, you're using a vendor. Now, the vendor is really just to provide the food, or is it also helping you serve too, because you are short-staffed?
Yes, so it's not a contract management company. The meals that we are bringing in twice a week to our elementaries and middle schools is only providing meals. So they are coming and delivering meals to our central warehouse twice a week, and then our employees take it from there.
I have a question.
Welcome to San Ramon Unified School District, and thank you for taking on this challenge. You were stellar, even though I know that there were so many challenges, and so we appreciate you being here. Do you find that you have a lot of waste from what you're providing to the kids, and what do we do with that?
Yeah, so waste is something that needs to be tracked very closely in child nutrition because it's a business of pennies and nickels. When you start serving, over $1 million meals a year, those pennies start to add up. So waste is something that we do track, but also something that requires infrastructure because we need to have access to those reports. And right now, the program is operating with paper, what we call production records, how you report how much was left over. So that is one thing that we'll have to look at is how we can move the data, be able to get the data electronically in more real time, so that we can be able to make adjustments quick enough that it will have an impact, a financial impact. And as we get more into the program and no numbers are needed to serve, we'll be able to tweak and adjust, make adjustments to the menu as needed.
First, I want to thank you for joining us and all the work that your department's doing, particularly this past year. During the lockdown, we were asking our nutrition folks at different school locations to really be frontline employees for us. Where a lot of them were, in the back room most of the time, but they were the ones that were meeting right up front in the parking lots with the families and making sure that our kids got fed. I really do appreciate all of that work. And now we're going through this, transition of providing lunches for everyone. My only question is an extension of what we just talked about with waste. The part I'm interested in is, and I know that you haven't been here with us before this, but the amount of throwaway from the kids, compared to what it was with the old a la carte and, spoon type of meals as opposed to prepackaged, and how that part of it is doing. Because again, it starts getting to what our students are looking for in terms of food and, what it is we're serving.
So I think there's probably two elements that I would say are into play here. One is that because we transition to meals, it is required to take a fruit or vegetable, and because we've prepackaged the meals because of COVID and keeping the speed lines we have set up, and it needs to be quick and efficient. That's going to be a struggle until we can get away from that. And then the second piece is we need to do more research as to what the students want to eat and what menu they want to have be served. Right now, we are really limited on our procurement contracts and where we're purchasing food and what the supply chain will provide. So it is very repetitious right now and not the most exciting menu. But constraints, and then also the increase in number, we're really in a tight space right now. But if we can get through this and be able to make the investment in the infrastructure that we need, the human, the physical, and the contracts and things like that, to move us out of it, and have the stakeholder engagement, we really be able to have a more rich program, and one that's hopefully more financially stable as well.
Well, one of the issues I think that we've always had as a district is that given our demographics, we do not have a large free and reduced lunch population, which means that for us to have a successful program that's not going to dip too deeply into our general fund, it means that we have to provide food that people want to participate in the program, not just those that might need to participate in the program. And then with the new free portion, that throws everything out of whack.
Sure. You know, school food has changed a lot in the last 10 years. And, you know, actually, since it was enacted in 1946, yes, it's focused on hunger. But as I said earlier, it's also an opportunity to build community and bring kids together. I mean, think about the elementary school when a child sits down and at the table and they're all eating the same thing. And, you know, oh, it's a carrot with a different spice, a little bit of ginger on it. And about it and experiencing it together. That's a huge opportunity, right? And lunch shouldn't be just a stop in education that's happening in the classroom. It can continue, and it's a real opportunity to build on that.
Thank you very much.
And so I guess also to build on the financial side, the federal government has also increased the reimbursement. There's been a substantial increase, and so it will definitely make an impact financially to the program.
Thank you.
I had a couple of questions. So I appreciate everything that you've had to say. I mean, being at school for the past couple of weeks, on the first day of school, we ran out of food. It was completely unprecedented, very hard to see it coming, that pretty much, I would say probably half of the school showed up compared to maybe like 1/4 to 1/5 in normal years. But one thing that I did want to ask, which I know is central to Monte Vista, but I don't know if this is consistent across campuses. I think you shed some light on this with the idea of having everybody pick up one fruit or vegetable. But are students required to take all items? Because that is one of the things at Monte Vista, and I do think that that could potentially lead to more food waste, considering the fact that they're taking a lot more items than they would have even picked up. And in most scenarios, the trash can's right next door after the line. They know what they don't want and they know what they want.
So what happened the first couple of days was a little bit of triage. And we were crushed the first day of high school. I mean, you can have pictured 1,400 students showing up for lunch at Doherty. I mean, it was a crush. So the first couple of days to account for that, to say, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? You know, all hands on deck. What are we going to do? And a lot of the students had never participated in the meal program before. So they didn't know that the requirement to have a fruit or vegetable, I mean, literally, this is why the little video of the speed line, when we shared it to the high schools, to show the students how the line works, like what a full meal looks like, and that, you know, you can choose the items. But the first couple of days, we pre-packaged, put it all in a brown bag, because we had to figure out what is the fastest way we can get students served to ensure that every child had a meal. And so we did that for a couple days, and at a couple schools, I think that's still maybe going on, just to ensure that every child had a meal. But we're slowly moving away from that. And the kids are getting more used to the idea, although it's slow. But we're definitely working towards being able to not have so much waste. You know, school food, it's all a balance between being efficient and ensuring they have nutrition, being financially responsible, having a setup that sets the employees up for success. I mean, all of these things sometimes are running against each other.
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a follow-up to that, and it's kind of like completely related in the idea of having to take a set number of items, whether that's fruits, whether that's vegetables, or whatever is entailed within the bag. Is there some way to enhance the transparency of what's inside that brown paper bag? Because at the start of the line, when you see, for example, 100 kids in front of you, you just know that you want food and you're trying to go get food. But you don't necessarily know what's there. And at the end of it, if you get there and, for example, you're a vegetarian and there's chicken parm, you're not going to be eating it. So is there some sort of way for kids to know what they're getting themselves into before entering that line, for example?
Yes. So I think except for San Ramon, the bag should be gone. And hopefully by the end of this week, the bags at San Ramon will be gone as well. That was almost like an emergency measure to just get us up and open. So those bags should be gone. And so it will be more like the speed line set up here, where you can see the items. Yes, it's all prepackaged, and no one wants to get rid of the packaging more than I do. I absolutely, this is not my long-term vision by any means. But under the environment and constraints that we are right now, serving what we are doing, this is the best that we're doing right now.
And then the last question.
Sorry, please don't speak out if you want to speak on this. You have to fill out a card. Thank you.
Last question. So I know that there's been a lot of like traffic in getting to just the lines in general and getting to the food. Is there maybe more than one location on campus where kids can go in to get food, or does it have to be centralized the way that we're getting them delivered?
I love your questions. They're so good. So yes, so one of the models.
Excuse me, Seta. Please, everyone, we'd like to let here. Right, but we still need a card so that you can ask the questions.
So
Yeah, so please, yes, please be quiet, and we'd like to finish. Right, so-
sorry. Yes, distributed points. So one of the best practices nowadays in high schools is distributed points of service. You meet the students where they are at. So, but it does require facilities and staff as well. And it requires a very unique position as well, because it's a very short-term position. And so the example on the picture here is actually how we're meeting this, we're kind of hacking this need right now with folding tables. So at many of the schools, these are spread out across campus to address the line issue that you mentioned earlier. And long term, there's a lot more that we can do with this, but it does require infrastructure and policy decisions that are more than just child nutrition. It will take the whole district working together to make this a success. But yes, absolutely. And you're touching on a lot of the elements of food is more than just, it's the experience, right? It's not a nice experience if you're 500 deep in line. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Historically, free and reduced lunches were a way for us to track students of need to be able to allow for additional funding through federal and state duplicated funds. How are we tracking that now with this shift in not requiring those forms to be filled out?
Yeah, Zeta?
Yeah, I can answer that. So, so the policy hasn't really caught up quite yet with the waivers and the free meals. Our district is still collecting those forms and still processing them. And families actually that do fill them out and are qualified get additional funding. It's called pandemic EBT to purchase additional food, while also benefiting, bringing in more LCS to the district.
Yes. Okay. We do have a couple of cards for 9.4. So Wendy Dahlstrom.
So thank you for bringing that up about Monta Vista, saying that the brown paper bags, the transparency about seeing what's in the food. This is just for all kids, not mine specifically. I make his lunch 5 days a week, but I'd like a break once in a while. And he's an athlete. He said, "Mom, I'm not going to buy it, or I'm not going to go get the lunches. There's like 4 or 5 chicken nuggets." and he's a 6 foot tall, 200-pound athlete. He's not gonna. That's not gonna, wet the whistle, right? So, point is, she said that everybody, excluding San Ramon Valley High School. So I'd like to know why.
So my apologies, I probably wasn't being clear. The menu is not being changed for San Ramon Valley. It was just the first couple days at all of the high schools. We put all of the meal sides, the components, into a bag so that it was easy to students to grab. And because San Ramon Valley, their physical structure in their lunchroom is, we're still struggling with it a little bit, is why that is still happening. But it is something that we're working on and hope to probably work through in this week.
And then also on 9.4, Helena Doherty Valley.
First of all, you are recording me already. I oppose another person recording me. I don't know if he's with Communist China. He has a professional stuff. I don't want my image to be sent to Communist China. Please delete my image. You don't have my permission to film me. Thank you. I just want to say that this is a Communist Chinese movement. This reminds me of when people were in China during Mao's Cultural Revolution. They had to eat from a big pot rice.
I think this is not under our jurisdiction.
It is relevant. This is a Communist Chinese movement, right? You're using tax dollars thinking this is for equity. It is not equitable. Equity means you're meeting everyone's needs.
Please focus on the agenda item.
Look at your stat. Every high school is only being fed 1/3 of the school population. Did you even study the statistics? Of course not. You don't care because you just want to move the lunches to common, like 大锅饭. You want everybody to eat the same thing. So you're happy. That is not equitable. This is America. This is how you meet kids' needs. There are people who don't need this program because they can pay for it. They want to eat more because they're more hungry, because they're growing more. And there are some kids who may not need as much. You need to let them have the freedom and the choice to decide how much they want to eat, what they want to eat, instead of giving them a bag here, like everyone is Communist Chinese. Stop it. Thank you.
I just want to comment that it's a choice for the families to actually participate in this program too, except for those who really need. So this is a program that is, the families don't have to participate. And I think that's why, we don't have 100%, because there are some families who prefer to bring their own lunch. So, okay, we're gonna move on to 9.5. No, 9. Yes. Okay. No. So public comment, right? 9.5. Public comment will be limited to no longer than 3 minutes, and the board cannot discuss any items not on the agenda for this meeting. The views expressed during public comment are for the individual speaker, and do not necessarily reflect the views of the board or district staff. The district believes in an inclusive, welcoming, and safe environment for its meetings for all of our community. The board respects each individual's rights to express ideas and opinions. Pursuant to applicable law, the board policy, and the board will not prohibit public criticism of the board or district. We kindly ask that when making public comment, you refrain from use of profanity, exercise tolerance of others and their viewpoints, and exemplify model behavior. Please be mindful that district students may be watching. You are encouraged to address the board and the public in a respectful manner, such that all those observing, from children to adults, are made to feel welcome, safe, and respected. The board will not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings. Persistent or excessive disruption by any individual or group shall be grounds to terminate the privilege of addressing the board. So on 9.5, I do have cards. So we're going to start with Micah Black.
Micah. I have 3 kids here in the school district. We see other states and districts and schools forbidding mask mandates on kids because they care about the generation. They care about our children. They care about the parents still having the right to choose what is best for their kids. I cannot understand for the life of me why you are sacrificing the well-being of our kids for not following science. You are not following science. You're not mitigating based on data. 75 million kids in the U.S. and around 430 deaths with COVID. While over double that for pneumonia in the same time frame. Pneumonia, a bacterial virus that grows on those masks that you're forcing our kids to wear all day long. More kids die from the flu every single year than they have in COVID in a year and a half. Yet you do not force our kids to wear masks every flu season, a virus that is more dangerous to them. You are killing our children slowly by allowing them to continue to wear masks all day long. You are weakening their immune systems. You are causing irreversible damage to them psychologically and emotionally. You're causing developmental delays. You are teaching them to be fearful of each other, fearful of everyone around them, and fearful of the air that they breathe and making them think it's toxic. You are treating our children like they are sick and making them think that everyone around them is sick. Medical professionals come out over and over again saying that the masks do not work. Literally on the boxes, it says it's to stop a virus. When you buy the paper mask, they do not stop a virus from getting through. The psychological damage being done to our kids, done to our children to cover their faces is irreversible. They wear cloth and over their faces all day where they sweat, spit, and breathe and recycle air over and over and over again. It is child abuse, is what it is. I hope that one day everyone who partook in this disgusting abuse of children, school board members, teachers unions, health officials, for nothing more than power, politics, and financial gain will be prosecuted for the full extent of the law. May God have mercy on you for the crimes against children that you are partaking in right now. God bless America.
Next is Courtney. Apologize if I Defron. Yeah.
So when the coronavirus first became a concern, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention told the American people not to wear masks. But in April 2020, the CDC did an about-face on its previous mask-wearing policy. The policy now is all to wear, but the CDC's mask-wearing policy lacks viable scientific support. It's not supported by science. Let's refer to the chart. As Micah mentioned, there's been zero 0.0286% chance of death for children under the age of 18, and 0.000005 chance of death in the whole world. Children do not readily acquire COVID or spread it to other children.
Courtney, please don't pull your. Thank you. You can move closer to the mic.
Or endanger parents or others at home. This is the settled science. In the rare
Okay,
cases,
please, Courtney. Thank you.
in the rare cases where a child contracts COVID, it is very unusual for the child to get severely ill or die. I have 2 children, a 3-year-old and a 7-year-old, have been in daycare since June of 2020. Not one case in any of the families, not one case ever, and they've been in daycare for over a year. And this is what we're making our decisions on. We're making our decisions on no cases. 30 deaths out of 10.5 million kids. Does that make sense to anybody? Anybody? Whatever arguments there may be for consenting adults, children should not be required to wear masks to prevent the spread of COVID. There is zero risk. The only reason they have to wear a mask is for your fear and the teachers, and it is not right. you know it's not right. We are 83.7% vaccinated in Contra Costa County, 71.1% in the United States, 77.5% in the state of California, and we still have to mask. So I'm done? Okay.
Okay, next up would be Gordon Sanderson.
Hi, my name's Gordon Sanderson. My objection to child wearing a mask is not based on personal opinion, but rather based on the overwhelming scientific evidence that they do not work at stopping the virus or, in fact, harming our children. Last week, the director of the NIH stated that masking rules for children are based on rare anecdotes, not data. Additionally, the most recent CDC guidelines cited a study from India that failed peer review, which is why we're wearing masks today. Stated that they don't, let's see here, the WHO changed their decades-long position on masks in 2020, and they stated that they didn't want to wait for our controlled trials to be finished. There are no peer-reviewed random controlled trial studies showing the efficacies of mask wearing dating back to the 1940s, but dozens showing the exact opposite, along with many showing prolonged mask wearing is harmful. You have due diligence requirements to review all pertinent facts, and you are not. Per U.S. Code 360 BBB, you have failed to inform us of any risks associated with mask wearing, and so you are in violation of that law, okay? It is clinically proven the ill effects of prolonged mask wearing include mask-induced exhaustion syndrome, lower cognition, suppressed immune system, respiratory impairment, blood oxygen depletion, bacterial pneumonia, fatigue, exhaustion, headaches, increased heart rate, acidosis, hypercapnia, hypoxia, reinhalation of bacteria and pathogens trapped in the mask. None of these are considered acceptable outcomes in an attempt to avoid a virus, and oxygen restriction has never been considered a healthy practice. Our child's need for oxygen outweighs those risks. You are the enforcement brigade for the state with teachers and their union willing henchmen. You are playing an active role in the commission of presenting falsehoods and dubious health claims in the omission of proven health risk associated with masks. You are a big part of the reason people are at each other's throats. Are you watching social media? It's abhorrent. If someone wishes to opt in and have their child wear a mask that gives them a false sense of security, then they are free to do so. My child has an inherent God-given right to breathe unrestricted oxygen. If you don't agree with that basic right, then you shouldn't be around children. Anyone trying to deprive them of that right under supposed medical pretense does not have our informed consent. Any forced invasive medical product limiting his oxygen supply constitutes a tort of battery. In closing, riddle me this. Who's the science denier? The person who reads the warning on the label box of a mask that states it cannot eliminate the risk of catching an infectious disease and believes it, or the person who reads it and insists everyone else wear them? Where is your science? You are not having any proof that these, and you are going to be held responsible. People are signing affidavits outside that are going to start holding people responsible. And John Malloy,
Thank you, Mr.
it's
Gordon.
coming.
Gordon, thank you.
Okay, next is Lacey.
Hi. I gave a public comment.
Lacey, please move closer to the microphone while wearing your mask, please.
I'm close. I gave public comment
Don't.
at the last school board meeting.
Excuse me, Lacey.
Yes.
Please put on the mask or we'll have to turn off the microphone.
My mask is on.
Thank you.
Oh my God. I gave a public comment at the last school board meeting, the meeting where you asked everyone who wasn't wearing a mask to leave the building and submit their public comment from outside. I personally wanted to be able to look all of you in the eyes while I made my comment about the well-being of the children in this district. You've been taking meetings behind a screen for so long that you probably forgot that we're actually concerned parents in this district and taxpayers in this community. During this said meeting, I wore a lei over my mouth while speaking to you. A lei that I found on a table in the front office. Does anyone have any scientific evidence that a lei is protecting anyone from COVID when we are at least 6 feet apart? 6 feet from the closest person to me, 30 from you. Oh, I found this lei on the table in the front office while I was being escorted out with many others who didn't have a mask handy. I was let back in because I was wearing a lei as a mask. Yes, a Hawaiian lei.
Can you please cover your nose, please? Please cover your nose.
Yeah, please pull up your mask.
It is so clear that your mask wearing agenda is not about
Lacey, last time, right?
It is
we
over
cut
my
you-
mouth
yeah,
and my nose.
I know. We cut you. What?
It is
cut
so
you
clear
a kind
that
of
your
a right last time.
Excuse me?
Last time I was trying to
Okay,
be really
pause my
really
time
good.
while you're speaking.
Yeah. But only if you put your mask.
My mask is on.
Over your nose.
You see a mask on my face. It's so clear that your mask wearing agenda is not about safety, about control and compliance. Districts around the state are deciding daily to make masks optional. This is something that you can choose for our children if you want to. The entire United Kingdom is not mandating masks for elementary school students because they have found that there is more harm in children's development than there is a benefit from them wearing a mask. As Gordon, right? As Gordon, there are many studies showing prolonged mask wearing leads to exhaustion, headaches, blah, 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 cognitive all the he already. Why aren't you guys looking at those? I too am a conservative Christian, and it is a shame that our voices are not heard
Thank
in
you.
this
Please
area.
wrap up your comments. That's
Oh, I probably have like 35 more seconds because you were interrupting me the whole time.
Please wrap up your comments.
Thank you for your time and thank you for serving this community. But I would implore you to do better and really think of the kids. Not just about yourselves and what like someone else is going to say or, oh, am I going to get in trouble? No, think about the safety of the kids. This is actually ridiculous. Oh, one other thing, who? Oh no, masks aren't effective. They're not effective. But then all of a sudden they're mandated in California when Governor Newsom signs $1 billion deal for masks from China.
Okay, next, Jim Wolf. Jim Wolf. Is he outside? I'll move on just in case, and Jim will be next if he's still outside. Doris Chow.
Good evening. My name is Doris Chow, mother of a first, third, and sixth grader. All three of my children are not eligible to get a vaccine at this time. I want to thank you for the mask mandate indoor and the COVID dashboard that updates all the positive COVID case in our school district. During the first week when school opened, I received a communication from the principal that my child was exposed to someone who was tested positive for COVID. And the condition was one party was unmasked.
Okay. Please,
As we look at the number of COVID cases on the Unified School District dashboard, some may view it as alarming, while others may view it as expected. Has the County Health Service and School District define an outbreak in school? Is it based on the number of cases in a classroom, school, or something else? I'm trying to understand what are the thresholds to adjust safety measures. The dashboard is a good start for transparency, but given that I am not in the medical field, I am unclear whether those number of cases represents a mild, moderate, or severe concern. On the COVID dashboard, I recommend the school district add another column to indicate whether the cases are coming from student to transmission or from home. Similar to the air quality dashboard, I recommend the
Please
school
let her.
district to add another column on the dashboard to indicate the level of concern, such as mild, moderate, and severe. Based on those levels, the school should adjust their safety measure accordingly. This layer prevention strategy is in line with the CDC guideline for safe school, which states, open quote, school will have a mixed population of both people who are fully vaccinated and people who are not fully vaccinated. These variations require K-12 administrators to make a decision about the use of COVID-19 prevention strategies in their schools to protect people who are not fully vaccinated. Together with the local public health office, school administration would consider multiple factors when they make a decision about implementing layer prevention strategies. And I do emphasize layer prevention strategies against COVID-19. With that said, I strongly recommend that you define an outbreak in school and adjust the safety measures accordingly. Thank you.
Okay.
My kid did wear a mask.
Come on.
Okay?
Okay.
I was quiet when you guys talk, okay? So you guys have to.
Okay. Okay. We're going. Yeah. We're moving on. Is Jim Wolf still here or no? Okay. Going on. All right. Next is Angela Plummer.
Hi there. Move it up a little bit. Okay, so we had a doozy of a day today at Charlotte Wood Middle School. My daughter goes to school there. I'm going to give you a little bit of timeline. Yesterday, we received the email saying an exposure incident at school. It turned out to be, we got the email yesterday, but the exposure was on Friday. Apparently, staff didn't find out about that exposure until Sunday, in all fairness to staff. So I immediately looked at the protocol, what we're supposed to do, unvaccinated versus vaccinated. Actually, yesterday went into school, got guidance from the staff Wednesday to get your child tested with a negative test, but since everyone was masked, you can bring that child, can continue under, what it's called.
Modified quarantine.
Thank you, modified quarantine, great. So child went to school yesterday. This morning, I dropped my child off at school in a meeting. Got a frantic text from her saying they're pulling us out of class and rounding us up in the open quad area, segregating the children by vaccinated versus unvaccinated. So true story, not okay. Not, let me finish, please. Not the way to handle it, okay? No, kids, first of all, shouldn't know each other's vaccine status. Number one, private information. Number two, a lot of panic and anxiety amongst the kids. I am going to give our staff some grace because, to be honest with you, what a nightmare for them to have to handle, right? This was a teacher that exposed the children, multiple classes throughout the day. You're talking dozens of students. The children who were vaccinated were panicking because they didn't have their vaccination cards. The children who weren't were panicking because they were told to get their parents here and get home. So, long story short, I'm in the middle of my workday now, frantically trying to get my child a rapid test, though they told me that I didn't have to have her tested till Wednesday. Here's the problem. I'm going to boil it down because I have 45 seconds. Our district needs to decide what is our end goal. Okay, we're following, our staff is doing, I think, the best they can. They're following the county health department guidance, right? We go to the county health department website, they have two different documents telling you what to do as a vaccinated individual. There's one document saying if you're vaccinated, you still need to get tested within 3 to 5 days. Another one saying it's recommended. California Department of Public Health is following CDC guidelines. CDC guidelines clearly states because both vaccinated and unvaccinated are transmitting, everybody needs to be tested within 3 to 5 days. So if our end goal is truly stopping the transmission,
Thank you, Angela. That's
everybody
3
needs
minutes.
to be equitably tested. Thank you.
Okay, David O.
Well, thank you. My name is David. I'm also a parent in the district, and like Courtney, I'd like to share some data tonight. It's going to come as no surprise to any of you that folks that are vaccinated and support vaccination also typically support masks, typically support other COVID interventions. Folks that are not vaccinated typically do not support masks or COVID interventions. This is the printout from the Contra Costa County Health Department website as of this afternoon. In our district, in Alamo, over 90% of people are vaccinated. In Danville, 88.2% of people are vaccinated. In Diablo, over 90% of people are vaccinated. And in San Ramon, over 90% of people are vaccinated. So there may be a variety of opinions in this room, but in our district, in our community, the opinions are strongly toward masking. So Dr. Malloy and members of the board, I do thank you for what you guys have done already, but I'd like to ask you to do more. I'd like to ask that you follow the San Francisco Unified School District, the Los Angeles Unified School District in imposing a vaccine mandate for staff. I'd like to ask you to continue the mask mandate until the situation on the ground has changed. I'd like to ask you to consider installing HEPA filters in the classrooms. You can do that for under $200,000 for the entire district, purchasing a classroom filter from Grainger or Home Depot or another industrial supply company. And lastly, I'd like you to remove the burden of contact tracing from our teachers and our principals. I found out that at my school, our principal is personally handling a lot of the contact tracing. That's not a job that a principal should do. Simplify the process. If a student in a class tests positive for COVID, just notify the class. End of story. We don't need 6 feet. We don't need 15 minutes. Student tests positive, notify the class, and let our educators get back to educating. You will have support from nearly the entire community to make these changes. Thank you.
Okay, next, Lisa Disbrow.
I'm Lisa Disbrow. I'm a certificated public school teacher. I want to make a couple of criticisms to the San Ramon Valley School Board. Number one, I watched your We've Got You video. In that video, which was intended to encourage students coming back, there were 21 speakers in the video. Not one of those speakers had a mask on. Let that sink in. We got you. You saw faces. You saw eyes. You saw body language. It was so warm and inviting. But it was false because all those kids were expected to put on the mask. Now, you did see the guy mowing the lawn. You did see the kid getting out of the car, blowing mommy a kiss. Cute kids. Oh, great kids. With a mask on. Couldn't see the smile. What in the heck was that? That was propaganda. Why? That was false advertising. That broke my heart. When the little guy said, the cute little 5-year-old with the roly-poly and all that, oh, but the kid that said, I miss seeing my friends. I wanted to scream at him. You're not going to get to see your friend's face. Tonight, watching you, I couldn't, now I'm an adult. I couldn't figure out who was talking. Why? Because I couldn't see your face. That is ridiculous. In the classroom, kids need to see faces. Secondly, I want to criticize your superintendent, Mr. Malone. You've been working on your laptop. Others have been working on their laptops or cell phones while people were speaking. What is that about? That's disrespectful. My other issue is the police out here. What is that? That's oppression. We're supposed to behave better because the cops are out there? I can disagree with you definitely without being arrested. I hope. That's crazy. And finally, I want to say, all of you are owned and bought by the teachers union. Randy Weingartner issued the orders several weeks ago when she said mandatory masking or strike. You guys are all connected. This is a hydra of oppression and cultural revolution.
Okay, next, we've got Danielle. Oh.
I'm here today to talk about two topics: continued masking of our children without a choice and your current quarantine mandates that segregate vaccinated students from unvaccinated students when there is a COVID outbreak. While I would like to touch on your change and additions to the CRT or CEL curriculum, 3 minutes won't be enough for all of them, but know that I'll be back for that. Masks, do they work? Obviously not, as our district has had many cases of COVID over the last 2 weeks of being in school. It even says on the box that they do not work protecting from COVID-19. Yet here you are, requiring our children to wear masks without a choice. I'm sure all of you have been smelling the smoke from our horrid fires lately. Makes it hard to breathe normally. Now imagine breathing that in, not only the smoke, but trapping it in your mask all day. I'd like to see each of you go out for 8 hours a day wearing a mask and then do some laps in the smoke with a mask on. The particles in COVID-19 are so small that they escape the mask, so we know that not only our children are being forced to wear said mask, but also breathe in their own carbon dioxide and inhaling fire smoke at the same time. This is child abuse, and it's going to hurt our children more than it would if they were infected with COVID-19 by reducing their lung function capabilities. If they work so well along with your vaccines, then we would not be seeing all of the cases that we are currently seeing. Not only are the masks hurting children, but I've spoken with many teachers who have been almost fainted because of her mask, stating, wearing a mask is the heart of my job. The truth of the matter is that the flu has killed more kids than COVID ever did, and our kids were never required to wear masks or quarantine if they had the flu. Your children are 10 times more to die in a car accident than they are from COVID. It's also apparent that the unvaccinated kids who are being required to quarantine after an exposure are held to unacceptable standards because they choose not to inject their bodies with something they don't know about or are not old enough to be vaccinated. As you know, vaccinated people can still spread the virus. So while you are allowing people who are still spreaders to go back to school after an encounter, you are requiring my child to stay home for 10 days because she is not old enough. This is unacceptable and inexcusable. If you can spread it vaccinated or not, then you need to be held to all the same standards across the board and stop segregating our children. You let these kids choose every days. They can even go get the shots if they want to without their parents being there. You let them choose what bathroom they want to go into, but you won't let them choose whether they want to cover their face or not. You need to give them a choice. It's affecting their mental health, their physical health, and their emotional health. And a note to Laura Finko, not on the board, but the president of our teachers union right here. I saw you pull in the parking lot tonight. I saw you speed up into your little handicap spot, and you had no problem kicking over the lady's paperwork. I'm sorry, but the fact that you are part of a teachers union, you do not represent anything that me or my children stand for. And you need to go. So do all of you.
Okay, next, Emily Meyer.
Hi there. I want to introduce myself. My name is Emily, and I'm the county chair for the newly formed chapter of Moms for Liberty. If you're not familiar with Moms for Liberty, it's a rapidly growing national, nonpartisan organization that focuses on upholding parental rights. We're looking forward to working with each and every one of you to ensure that these values are implemented within our district. I also want to say that I commend you for taking on a civic role, especially during the times that we're living in. It can't be easy with the amount of pressure cast upon you by our county supervisors, Board of Education, governor, and health officials. I can only imagine it breaks your heart having to listen to all the different parents spill their guts out over their experiences with mask mandates and have you feel like your power has been usurped and your hands are tied. Moms for Liberty as an organization believes in not just redressing our officials with our concerns, but also offering solutions. Going along with scientific and unconstitutional mandates is not your only option. That being said, we have heard the challenges around the county and the state regarding having your insurance dropped if you do not follow the health guidelines, or even having the school district shut you down by the health department. We want to offer hope and a way of actually partnering with us, your constituents, and follow the lead of school districts in San Luis Obispo. Those school districts are working hard to uphold their constitutional duty to represent we the people and are actively seeking to band together with other school districts across the state to file a restraining order against the state and the state health department. We'll provide you more details about this when we plan to meet with you individually, but we bring this up as a viable option that we, as your constituents and parents of children in this school district, would support. If that means raising money for additional lawyers, expert medical witnesses, etc., we are in. After today, our organization will be contacting each and every one of you to discuss further these solutions, see what we can do. I look forward to working with you. And for the parents attending this meeting, please join our Moms for Liberty Contra Costa and help us support our school district in this fight. Thank you.
John Besmer.
My name's John Besmer. I have a couple of kids that go to school in the district here. My big address is that I'd like to address the topic of parents in a free country being able to make their own decisions for their kids' medical choices. Now, for the longest time, I'm not here to say that anyone who wants to wear a mask, go ahead, wear it. That's your choice, and I appreciate that. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. I'm here to tell you that it's your constitutional right. But I'm here to get the locus of control back to the parents. Okay? I'm calling for a mask optional policy. It's a constitutional right. We all agreed to sacrifice early on in the pandemic to do our part. Those days are long gone. What they call the science has all been a guess. Okay? Universal masking, all the research shows that coronavirus has shown an insignificant correlation in transmissibility. And here we are. I know nobody wants to hear it, but here's the Danish study. You guys want to take a picture, look it up, and read it? I recommend it. That's a good study. Okay, so moving on. I'm also not here to argue whose article holds more validity, because I'm sure all you people who want to wear the mask and get your vaccine and all that, you're going to have articles that say that you're right too. I get it. But we're a sovereign people in the state of California. Sovereignty, according to Webster's dictionary, is defined as a noun meaning complete independence and self-governing. California Government Code Section 11120 and 54950 state the people of this state do not yield their sovereignty to the agencies which serve them. That's the truth. This is California law, and it was voted upon by the legislature, and that's the only way laws are made in this state. I don't know if anybody knew that, but that's how states are made. Mandates are not laws. Thank you. As of now, our sovereignty with regards to medical decisions are being made for us and against our will. But one size fits all does not work in a free society. Many who think that, doing the mask thing is what they call science, it's our moral and social contribution to the problem. At this point, the science is only blind adherence to a one size fits all narrative. And increased doubt gets us closer to scientific certainty, not consensus. Think about that. It's the truth. Medical device applications in our country has always been between parents and their doctors, not between school boards, politicians, or unelected, especially unelected health officials. If we lose our liberties in this country, especially medical autonomy, we no longer live in a free country. Where are all the peer-reviewed studies like the Dana study on the dangers of breathing too much O2? Why are they being downplayed and censored? Where are the risk assessment studies from this school board from wearing a face covering all day? Where is it? I want them. Please help me to believe that what you're doing to us is right for our kids. That's it. I got other articles. Please look at them, everybody.
Courtney Cronin.
Hi, Courtney Cronin. I was supposed to have a child in John Baldwin, and I pulled her. I was at the last meeting because I do not want her wearing a mask all day, and I also don't want her being in an environment where she is fearful of getting somebody else sick, like somebody else mentioned. So just so you know. But my last time I was here, I had a plea, right? Which I think a lot of people do too, is show us the data you're working with. Like, right, the onus is on you. Show us this is safe. Show us you're making this decision based on scientific backing. Please show me. I want to be wrong. And Dr. Malloy, afterwards, at the end of the meeting, you said, I am not a scientist. I am not a doctor. It would be wrong of me to make different decisions than those people that are. And I can understand that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. But I do know how to read data, right? I'm a college graduate. I know how to do that. So if we are not going to be talking about the data from you, I'm going to go, like everyone did, went to the dashboard here in Contra Costa. For all of 2020 and so far in 2021, we have had one death with COVID in the 13 to 18 range, and we've had one death with COVID in the 19 to 30 range. So that is a population out of population of 1,165,927 people, which equates to 0.000000, I think that was 6 zeros, 86 death rate for children in our county. What am I missing? What am I missing? Where is the danger? As of right now, every single teacher, every single person that works on campus who wants to be vaccinated can today. They can go get vaccinated. So why are we putting this burden on our children to carry? I am so tired of hearing children are resilient. If anyone has been in therapy for something that happened to them as a child, you cannot say that. I have, right? Please stop saying children are resilient. This is not their burden to carry. This is not the bag that they need to be picking up. Whew. And also, sorry, I know that everyone feels differently. I respect that. But people that come up here talking about the efficacy of masks and needing more, and they're sitting here and touching their masks and moving it all around, please go look up industrial hygienists, which are the people that train doctors and nurses on PPE and what is a PPE and how to effectively use it. Hospitals cannot open without consulting people. They have tons of published papers. This is not PPE. This is not a respirator. This does not work for what we are trying to fight against. Let's protect our vulnerable, which is 0.2% of the population, and let's stop holding our children accountable for the fear of everyone else. Thank you.
Bill Fall.
I'm Bill Thaw. I'm a father of three. Many in this community are divided about whether masks prevent the spread of COVID, and divided groups trust opposing scientists and doctors. But the problem before this board isn't just scientific. It's a question of mandates. This isn't merely two sides arguing their opinions and let the most forceful argument win. This is about one group trying to subjugate the other. Those of us who consider the masking of children more harmful than good are having our parental authorities stripped from us. And that power is going to boards, governors, and even other parents in the schools. We who oppose masking are not trying to mandate masking upon the other parents' children. This is because we respect that they know how to best care for their own children. However, are not being respected. Our voices aren't heard because schools fear interest groups and outside forces instead. And that does nothing to serve parents or their children. Boards have no business stripping parents of their parental authority. Leave the choice to mask to the parents. These mandates aren't just worsening a schism in our community. Aside from limiting oxygen and making children inhale microbes all day, they're also creating an atmosphere of fear. And I suspect the children are being taught to be risk adverse in ways that will stunt their growth and make them less successful. Worst of all, we are convincing an entire generation that freedom is selfish. Nothing could be less American. Still, we have had a former governor, California governor, recently say to freedom-loving Americans, screw your freedom. But if freedom is selfish, why have we spent so much blood fighting to give it to others? From the Revolutionary War to the Civil War to World War II, people sacrificed their lives for freedom. Freedom is a treasure, and it is a right. To violate someone's freedom is to steal from the Creator. And when you mandate masking, you are reaching far beyond what you are allowed. You rob us of our choice, our decision-making, and our authority and dignity as parents. But the work of a school board is to serve the interests of all parents. Parents that favor masks, all of us. And the only way to serve us all and heal the division is to recognize our God-given liberty to make this choice ourselves. We give this authority to no one else. The parents decide. Thank you.
Lorena Gomez.
My name is Lorena Gardea. I have breaking news for all of you educators right here, okay? Freedom is now mandated, something called the Constitution, okay? Went into effect 232 years ago, just in case you haven't heard. FYI, that was from Awaken the JP. So, I think that you guys all have heard of Robert Kennedy Jr., Children's Health Defense. So he has a notice for employers, universities, and other institutions mandating COVID-19 masks. This serves as a notice that the mandate for any individual to wear a mask against COVID-19 for employment or attendance at either university or other institutions violates federal law. All COVID-19 masks, whether surgical, N95s, or any other respirators that are authorized are not approved nor licensed by the federal government. Are emergency use authorization only. They merely may be effective, the federal law states. All of you guys you're not all doctors. You don't know the science, because the science, if you did read it, shows that the masks are ineffective. They hold microbes. If you put them in a Petri dish, you're gonna find that there's so many viruses that are in these masks that these kids constantly are breathing in, that affects their health. We have immune systems that God gave us to protect ourselves from all these elements. Viruses mutate. That's what they do. They don't go away. How many years has a flu been around? And when has it disappeared? Never. COVID is here. It's not going away. Mr. John Malloy, I like your attention because this is important. All of you guys, you have no courage. You're submitting to higher powers that are evil, that are not Christian-like. All of you guys, I don't know, are you all atheists here? Do you not believe in God? Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. Okay? He is the only way, the truth, and the life. I'm disgusted with the fact that we have all of these people here that also call themselves educators, and yet you are pushing an agenda that is harming these children. Let these children breathe. When on God's earth have we ever had any society covering up like this in America? Never. This is a bigger scheme than I don't understand, other than the fact is everybody has this control over these kids because you want to suppress them.
Lorena.
We talk about oppression.
Thank you.
This is oppression. Wake up.
Thank you.
This is not going away.
That's 3 minutes.
I understand that. But you know what? This is awful. You
That's
guys are
your
doing
time.
something that's
Well,
harming
off
our
the mic,
children.
please.
Yeah, cut
Thank
the
you.
mic. Go ahead.
Next is Selena Hernandez.
Excuse me if my voice is shaky. The tensions are high for good reason. While writing this, I thought I can come here and give you all the information regarding masks I've come across. But listen, would you take in all the information I've accumulated and with an open mind? Actually, hear me out. Would you go home and look up some of these concerns for yourself? Or would you write me off as someone who doesn't care about other children's lives? So instead of repeating what most people here are going to say, I'm going to tell you about my son's first week of school. I have a 6-year-old who started first grade this year, and to give you some context, I need to go back to last year. This board decided not to open our schools. After 4 months, my family decided we can no longer sit at a computer and call it a kindergarten class. After finding an in-person preschool with a kindergarten program, we enrolled him immediately. This school had been open since June 2020, in person with optional masking for children, right here in Danville. How could this school be open in person without majority of kids in mass and thrive? That spiraled into multiple questions that I went in search of answers. That brings me to August 10th, 2021. My son is starting first grade and brought to a brand new campus that he never got to experience. We line up only to look around at masked faces who we cannot recognize. His teacher, whose voice is muffled, comes to introduce herself as my 6-year-old clings to my side. A stranger who he cannot see and friends he can't quite recognize, but is supposed to follow them into an unknown place. My son looks back at me and with tears rolling down his face asks me to please come home. As I'm reassuring him that everything will be okay, I grab his mask and put it over his mouth. He yells at me and pushes me away and says he doesn't want it. I hold back tears, asking if what I'm doing is making any sense. In a time already so hard for my sweet 6-year-old boy, I'm told to cover his mouth, adding to his anxiousness. I'm not here to demand no masks on kids. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job. I'm here to ask you for grace and to understand, and to look at me as your friend and your community member. I'm here to ask for mask choice and ask that you advocate for those of us voicing this concern. All children are different, and yes, although they may be resilient, some hold the weight of these decisions harder than others. If our neighbor decides that their child feels protected and will thrive with a mask on, I encourage it. But shouldn't my child and I have the same understanding? What risks are we imposing on our children mentally and physically in the name of mandatory masking? We have come to the assumption that an overabundance of caution has no cost imposed to it, and that is absolutely not the case for some. Thank you for your time.
Matthew Hoffman.
I spoke to this group often, and I don't think I've ever come to this with a sense of such vexation and speechlessness before. So bear with me. I haven't prepared. But thank you for coming here and bringing up your points. I mean, it's a break in this kind of environment, but it's a necessary thing to do because groups like this don't function without the opinions of everyone. So thank you for what you do. And similarly to what Helen does so often. Thank you, Helen, for all that you've done for all these meetings and speaking out and sharing your opinion with everyone, because it is important and it's a brave thing to do and it's a necessary thing to do. So thank you all for that. And also, branching onto what I'm getting at, thank you to the parents at Charlotte Wood and the surrounding communities today for what they did to step up in this situation that arose there. As people talk, like we hear from this board all the time, we're not scientists, we're not doctors, but what you guys certainly are educators. And what happened at Charlotte Wood today is unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable to have hundreds, is what I heard. So who knows? We'll say dozens just to be fair. Dozens of kids just let out, just said, well, call your parents and we'll see you later. And then to have the equivalent of like the Dunkirk evacuations of school, where we had parents getting called up to come and caravan kids back to their house. What is that? And what I see is this board from the past year has deferred. You know, they say, you know, the responsibility is over there. It's somewhere else. Or it's down here lower. We're going to say, you know, the site administrators, they need to figure it out. And so what we have then is this hodgepodge of ideas and responsibilities, and everyone's pointing the finger at someone else. The buck has to stop here at this board. This board needs to make choices. This board needs to make decisions for this community. And this thing that happened at Charlotte Wood today has to be a wake-up call for this room to say that what is going to happen in the future if we don't step up here as a community and as a board and make some tough decisions. Those decisions need to be made. They can't just be pushed off to someone else. It's time that we need to come together and make a decision. We can't just keep on pushing it off on someone else. And like I said, you guys are educators. We need to educate the kids. And I remember stories that teachers told me from the Loma Prieta earthquake, when they were sitting around talking about waiting for their parents to show up hours and hours on end after school. They were talking about having to take care of kids sometimes into the night because they didn't know when those parents were coming home. And to see the opposite of that today at Charlotte Wood, of just saying, we'll see you later, get out of here. That's not education. That's not what we signed up for. That's not what this school district should be about. And I look forward to a change and a rectification of that immediately. Thank you.
Sarah Sullivan.
I'm here today for the first time speaking on behalf of my Charlotte Wood 6th grade student and a mishandling of guidelines guidance. And I know a number of parents, at least 60, sent our children to school today after thoroughly reading the district guidelines that were sent to us about what we should do, vaccinated, unvaccinated, and we proceeded to send our children to what we thought would be a safe school environment and that they would be protected by their school, and or the parents would be directly contacted by the school if need be. My child was kicked out of school today. She does not have a cell phone. She is 11 years old. She was released without the school ever calling me, without ever getting an email. I got a text message from my 11-year-old. This is another student's phone. Please come pick me up. I'm scared. I am not talking about masking, mandates, anything like that. I'm saying that my child was kicked out of school and nobody from the school contacted me, or my second on the emergency contact list, or my third on the emergency contact list. And that is not okay. And she was segregated, which is, I thought, something we don't do anymore. Publicly segregated. She's 11. She's been at middle school for not even 3 weeks. She shouldn't be subjected to this. If she needed to be picked up, an adult from the school should have called me per person. And when I showed up to the grab, an adult should have checked ID and released her to me. Instead, she ran out of the door crying to me. I had no obligation at that point to sign her out. I had no, or whoever she would have run out to at that point. Her safety was in your hands today. And it's not protected. And so therefore this feels like a very unsafe environment for my child to go to school in. I am not here to tell you how to do your job, but you have got to protect the kids that you're letting into your school and make sure that they are given permission to leave your premise. That's your responsibility. We're giving you the honor of having on your presence, thinking that you'll protect their safety. I didn't know it was mandatory for them to have a cell phone to call me because they wouldn't be able to have an adult help them call their parent in this event. I was at a loss for what to do or what even to tell her. We followed the guidelines. We sent her back based on the email that the school sent me. And my husband read it, and all of her classmates that were in the situation also read it, sent their kids back. She was humiliated. She's scared now.
Thank you, Sarah. That's 3 minutes.
Thank you. And I will say, then we waited for 3 hours to get tested so that she can come back to school. And then we find out that, oh, she has 3 more days to get tested. So maybe we didn't need to sit in the car for 3 hours after this traumatic event.
Okay.
President Ordway, I will comment on that in my report, which is right after the public comments.
Okay, Becky Hill.
Hello, I too, like Sarah, have never been here spoken before, but I want to speak about the Charlottewood incident today. From my understanding, a fully vaccinated staff member contracted COVID. I'll say that again, a fully vaccinated staff member. This is what the word on the street is. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but no one has issued any statement saying any of the parents are wrong in making this assumption. Yet only the unvaccinated kids were sent home. Someone please tell me how this makes sense. A fully vaccinated staff member, only, so you're saying vaccinated people can get the virus, but you're only taking the unvaccinated children out of school. That doesn't make sense to me, and I want someone to explain that to me. Also, we wear masks, and the kids have to wear masks all day, so it's to protect everyone, and we have to be indoors wearing it. So if the masks work, then why were my children sent home? The teacher and the children are in the classroom for their whole period, and everyone's wearing masks. What is the purpose of the mask? We're just going to send the kids home. Last week, my daughter had a birthday. It was 11 years old, and we debated about getting her a phone. We decided, okay, she's in 6th grade, we'll get her the phone. I am so thankful I did. That is the only way I knew my child had to be picked up. She called me at 8:30. I'm on my way to work to Sunnyvale, crying. Mom, I don't know what's going on. They're saying I have to go home. I have to go home because I have to get a COVID test. I said, no, you're not coming home. An adult needs to call me. Go back to class. She's like, they won't let me. They won't let me. I don't know what to do. And I said, don't worry, honey. It will be okay. I should not be calming my child down. That is something the staff at the school should be doing. Instead, it was like no one knew what to do. Everyone goes into panic mode. How am I supposed to trust my children to be with you in a big catastrophe if you can't handle this small one? They were literally shoving kids out the door as if there was something wrong with them. She was scared and confused. Please imagine what that would feel like, being handpicked out of class as a 6th grader on a brand new campus. This is unacceptable. We should not be segregating these kids based on vaccination status. What are we doing to their self-esteem? The kids have already been through enough. Where is the compassion? Ask yourself if you think this is okay. We need to do better for our kids. This was unacceptable. Thank you.
Leah Paul.
Hi, my name's Leah Paul. I'm going to speak really loud because people on Zoom can't hear very well. My name's Leah, and I actually moved to the school district. I was here last meeting, and I brought some awesome posters. I came straight over from soccer practice. I U10 boys team here. We just moved here a year ago. I have a 7-year-old who just turned 8 yesterday. He goes to Vista Grande, and I have a 4-year-old who goes to Acorn Learning Center. We moved here for the 8 out of 10 schools. When the pandemic hit, I have a lot of nurses in my family. They're all strewn about. My sister's in the trauma center in Reno. My mom is treating COVID patients and has been since day one. And she trained me and taught me and raised my sister and I to be critical thinkers. So when things happen, we want to find out who it's impacting, what they're doing differently. A lot of them had comorbidities. And I teach my children to be critical thinkers. I put them back in school in June of last year. They took temperature, they had masks. We ran the stats on masks with kids, and never been a study in kids sitting 8 hours a day. 8 hours a day. My son is in school 8 hours a day because I'm a full-time working parent. My littlest one is not wearing a mask all day. They take his temperature. He's in school 8 hours a day. And you know which kid's thriving? My youngest one. My eldest one got diagnosed with high-functioning autism. Now, do I want to tell all the parents in my community, in my brand new community, that my kid has high-functioning autism and this mask is a nightmare for him? Every day, running around in 105-degree temperature, almost passing out and having major issues with the school. I tried to get a medical waiver exemption for him, and it's sitting pending right now. And people say, oh, you're being selfish for putting others at risk. But people don't realize that the CDC director actually said it. It was on my posters I brought last time. The CDC director said there's no differentiation between being vaccinated or unvaccinated. You still carry the same viral load. The Delta variant isn't impacting children. It's not. The director just said it. So for me, I'm teaching my kids to be critical thinkers. And wearing this and the size of a molecule is tinier than this. It's like sand at a chain link fence. Where's the common sense? Why, instead of making people freaked out of their mind at Charlotte Wood, separating based off their own medical preferences? I have a son that's vaccine injured. So you're sitting here telling me that my son needs to wear a mask 24/7 a day when there's no data to support it. And as well, we're not talking about critical thinking and how to prevent getting COVID. Vitamin Z, zinc, vitamin C, quercetin. Speak to actual nurses treating it on the front lines.
Wendy Dahlstrom.
My name is Wendy Dahlstrom. I have a son that is a sophomore at San Juan Valley High School. I had a lot I wanted to say, but quite frankly, most of it's been said, and for lack of a better description, I'm just so overwhelmed and so highly disgusted, blown away. The lack of accountability and responsibility, not only by this board, but by our entire school district, the upper management. I've seen it firsthand in the last 19 months, and the fact that our kids are not able to have a choice and a voice is disgusting to me, and I'm sure everybody else in this room. How much we pay good money to live here. The reason we're here is because of the school district. And it's sad to me that 40 other states get to make that choice out of 50 and we don't. Okay, so I have a son that I tried to get a mask exemption as well, only because he has severe pollen allergies to the tune of 176 species of plants and trees on our street. He sometimes wakes up in the middle of the night and can't breathe, but yet he has to have a mask on. Mind you, our air quality here last week was 183, I believe, at the worst. In certain parts of the state, it's over 500 and hazardous. Those particles also get stuck in our mask. He couldn't get a mask exemption. His doctor's excuse was corporate won't let them, not even asthmatic children. How disgusting is that? So I just want to put you all on notice. If anything happens to my son because he has trouble breathing and his doctor felt for him, wish to God he could sign an exemption for him. He can't breathe in these masks. If anything happens to him, each and every single one of you will be liable and held accountable and responsible if anything happens to him. So help me God. So I'm just telling you right now that you owe it to our children. That's why you're a school board. You owe it to our children to make sure that they're safe and that they can breathe and that they can have an education free from harm, free from feeling fear, free from not breathing. It's not right what you're doing to them. It's not right.
Helen of Doty Valley.
I want to bring to the attention of the board, the teachers union, and the teachers that last Tuesday, San Ramon Planning Commission was given permission to, or gave permission to a Chinese-owned company, gaming company called Sandbox VR to operate in our city at the city center. The reason why I need to alert you to this gaming facility is because this game business will have 5 enclosed spaces, and their main customer are children 12 years and up. The commissioners barely asked any public health questions, despite that this business will require sharing devices. Here we are talking about vaccine, not vaccine, wearing mask, not wearing mask. Nobody cares that our 12-year-old and up will be able to, play games all day long. And the team council actually said, oh, can you please extend your business hour beyond 9 o'clock? This is what hypocrisy is about. To me, I know that this virus is a bioweapon. Where I'm from, Taiwan, I know where this virus comes from. There is no natural virus that will be able to mutate this quickly. Combining alpha, beta, gamma, omega, I will wear my mask because it is not the virus I'm scared of. It is the people I'm scared of. And actually, I would ask you, Ms. Wong Ordway, if you can, please resign. I feel that since you have been on, our district has been shifted extremely to the left and very communist. Our business office keeps hiring more communist Chinese nationals. Our janitors are all pretty much like communist Chinese. And a lot of our policies really replicate what happened in communist China back in the 50s and the 60s. There is something wrong. Our district is infiltrated. I also want to ask you to please take off your care line, the snitch line. Now I know why you want people to have the phones. Who are you trying to sell? Huawei cell phones? Now you want children to just scan a square and snitch each other? Is their reporting going to go to communist China? Is someday somebody from here who is going to be running for president or vice president, all of a sudden their children will come out, oh yeah, when you were how many years old, somebody reported on you or you reported on somebody. Stop it. Digital communism from communist China in our school district. It is inequitable, requiring rich people to be able to report on poor people because this requires people with cell phone. It is also wrong habit forming. You're
Thank you,
asking
Helen.
them
That's
to
3
skip
minutes.
principles and people they know strict to a square. A square, what's the face behind the square? Xi Jinping?
Scott Kaminsky.
My name is Scott Kaminsky. I have 2 children in the district. Last time I came before you, I made a simple request to all of you. I said, please, all of you, look after the best interests of our children. A very simple request. I see no evidence from any of you. And I think you should all be ashamed. And special shame goes to the teachers union representatives here. These 3 right here. They should definitely be ashamed because you should be supporting our children too, and not just your teachers. Not working on $5,000 bonuses for the teachers. I don't know what the administrative staff got, but this is sickening. So I will implore you again to please look after the best interests of our children. And Mr. Malloy, I have a special request for you. I believe after every meeting, you should have a question and answer session. And you shouldn't play Joe Biden and just walk out. You should have a question and answer session so everybody here can ask you questions. You're the one in charge of all this. You got 4 assistants. I have no idea what you need 4 assistant superintendents for. But I think you need to have a question and answer session and let everybody here ask questions until the cows come. Thank you.
Okay, Mindy.
I wasn't going to speak, but I'm listening to all this, and it's unbelievable, actually. So I'm just going to ask questions, and I know nobody's going to answer. But it sounds like from this really brave woman over here, which if I were to speak like you, I'd get, like, everyone would call me racist and terrible. But I'm having a feeling you come from somewhere, Taiwan, where maybe you already experienced communism and socialism, and you can see where this is going. So my question is, anyone who hasn't been implanted here, right? Because that's what's happening, right? All over are being implanted to turn every single district into what's happening here. My question isn't for the ones that are implanted. My question would be for the ones who are not. Do you guys have any power left? I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea. Do you have any power left to override what's happening? Do you care? Do you have any children of your own that are suffocating all day long, every day? I don't think you do. I mean, you look super young, but maybe some of you do, or grandkids. This matters. You're making our children really sick. And look, to the man who's wearing the N95, that's literally the only thing that might prevent the virus from spreading, right? The word is might. It might, you're right. And I love your statistics. 90% of our district is vaccinated. What is everybody afraid of? Okay, I know, we're not getting herd immunity. That's the thing. Because of the high vaccination rate, you vaccinated individuals spread it at a higher rate. You have no symptoms. So no one can say, stay home, you're sick. You have a fever, you're coughing. It's because you have you've had the vaccine. I mean, this is all so backward. And please tell me, I'm just a little lowly. I don't have 50,000 degrees and awards and whatever, but how can I have more common sense than you people? I don't understand it. And I'm sorry, I am not trying to be insulting to the people who really care, but I have a feeling there's a few of you who don't. You must be taking money, right? I can't understand otherwise how you could let our children suffer. When this first started, I have a personal story. I wore a mask. I hope you let me. I wore a mask. I wore 2 masks. I double masked. I wore N95 because I was terrified, because that is what the media was telling everyone to be, is terrified. They weren't giving any data, right? In the last year and a half, how much data has come out that you guys have actually looked at? All these provide so much data for you to look at. So I hope you do. Because the media, the CNNs, and all this bullshit, that's not telling you the truth, right? But that's what you're basing your choices off of. I couldn't walk by another human being. I was so afraid I was going to die because of that, right? At 45 years old. Now imagine our children. They're 10, they're 9, they're 8, they're 11. They can't walk by people thinking they're going to die. And this is part of the reason.
Thank you,
Give them
Lindy.
a sense of hope if you still care. Let them feel hopeful and safe and sane.
Okay, and I have two cards that the speaker or the person, the people did not want to speak out, but I will provide this to the board to read their. No, they said that they do not wish to speak, so that is their prerogative, but we will share it with the board. Right. So do you, okay. I mean, I don't mind reading them. It's just, yeah. I mean, I don't mind reading them. Oh, it's just, yeah. One is, I support the board decisions in educating and caring for students. And the other one is, okay, a little longer. So mental and physical well-being must be considered. There is no proof scientifically or socially to justify mask mandates in public schools. Mandates are a form of oppression. Let Americans with children have authority to choose or not to choose to enforce masks on their children. Our children, our choice. Schools are public service, not dictators above parents. Okay, so now 9.6, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, President Ordway. I will attempt to answer questions that I might, as I was asked to do. But before I do that, I think it's important for me to also communicate that, yes, we've had some bumps, which I'll speak about. And we've also had an amazing opening to 36 campuses in the San Juan Valley Unified School District. What's exciting about being on our campuses is that our kids and staff are together learning. For those who chose our virtual academy or our venture independent study, once again, last meeting I shared, we did have some bumps on those roads, but one of the things we're learning is that, especially with the speed of change that's coming at us, we sometimes need a little bit more time to work through the issues. And I think that you're hearing at least some progress and improvement as we do that. There's nothing like our kids being on campus. And yes, we miss that for many of our students for many, many months. And to that end, we're doing our very best to navigate, because the goal is to keep kids in schools and not have to send them home and not to have the difficult experiences that I will speak about in a minute, which you heard about at Charlotte Wood today. Some of the other things which are part of our opening, and again, they've not all been easy because it's about returning to school, which some haven't been at for many months. It's about some changes, whether they come from our public health leaders or they come from us. We're trying to work through a lot of moving parts. And one of the things that I'm very willing to do, and will certainly do tonight, is to take responsibility for that which is ours. I'll share clearly about that which is not ours. But I'll also share some of the ways we don't just defer, and we do try to push and advocate to get to the best place possible. It's important, I think, to speak about air quality, because that came up. That is one of the things that crosses my desk the most. In the spirit of answering every question, it may not always be from my email, though some of you actually do know it's from my email, because one of the things I try to do is listen to all the voices. And frankly, they are exceptionally, exceptionally diverse. Very respectful of the perspective that is the most voice tonight. Hearing as we speak, intense reactions that are different. And my job as your superintendent is to try to navigate that as clearly as possible. So, questions that cross our desk came up tonight, air quality. We are grateful to have a community that supported our facilities over the many years And we are a district that has MERV 13 filters in every single classroom school site. That's not everyone's experience. And because of that standard, it does allow us to rest easy with some of the issues that we might be hearing. We heard about Porta HEPA filters and that they would cost a certain amount on Amazon. Those filters would not do anything in a 900 square foot classroom. And the type of process that we would need is a lot different than that. So of course, we've been working with those who know much about this area in light of the fact that we have the MERV 13 filters to understand exactly what we need to do and why. And at this point in time, in those classrooms where students have received a mask exemption, due most often to special education needs and medical needs attached to it, we have provided the filters that are at the size, if you will, that would make a difference. In terms of our online learning, our virtual academy, our venture independent study, we will be moving more students into independent study on August 30th. There is another 100 students on the list that wish to move towards venture independent study. They will be certainly looked after right after this next group. But while they are home, because that is their choice, we are providing work, we are providing connection, and I'm grateful to our staff for making that happen. Let me speak a little bit about some of the challenges that we are facing. But before I go there, I want to take one other piece and make a comment about it. Again, about 3 years ago, I wasn't here. I learned it when I got here last year, that our community was really clear about not wanting to jump between this platform in elementary school for learning and virtual and such, this platform for middle school, this platform for high school, this teacher does it this way, this teacher does it that way. And we wanted to deal with that, and that's where Schoology came from. And like all new implementations, it's not easy. And can we do some things better? Yes. And do we want to listen more to our students? And Ronit's going to have some things to share with us? Absolutely. But it's important for us to communicate why we went down this road in the first place. There's a reason to try to have one platform that allows our students and our staff and our parents to understand exactly how we're proceeding in order to assist with our learning. So again, it's not been easy, but I see great improvements. And I think that having experienced as a superintendent multiple technology implementations, it just takes time. And that's something that I do believe we will get to very quickly. Having said that, Assistant Superintendent Huardo's team, we set up a call center type support. When the phone rings into a certain number, it goes to the open person who's amazing. I see Tammy there who is assisting us in that regard, and we're trying to move to assist our families as quickly as we can in that regard. So let me speak specifically about some of the issues that we've heard tonight, and I'll go back to that point where I say there is a very significant perspective for the most part in the room. There is a very significant perspective of those not in the room. Some of them felt that they couldn't be in the room, and all I'm saying is I'm sharing what is crossing our desk on a daily basis. And I want to be clear to the board that when it comes to what you do not have authority over, even though you've heard otherwise, is the mandates of public health. And I read from a letter that we all received on Monday, August 23rd, from Dr. Thomas Aragon that spoke to your requirements and the substantial legal, financial, and other risks you would be taking to do otherwise. Now, again, I heard the comment about it's not law. That is presently being challenged. There, as I know it, multiple lawsuits in the state. They are being heard. If those lawsuits state what you heard tonight, I trust we would hear that information, and I would be bringing into you that decision, and that would impact, I'm guessing, what public health is requiring us to do. The challenge is, to the extent that you heard anger regarding how dare we do what we're doing with masks, even though I'm going to clarify that it isn't about what you or I are doing, I'm getting the emails regarding why do you keep saying you won't exceed the requirements? So there's a whole other part of our community that is struggling with the fact that they want masks outdoors. They want 6 feet of physical distancing. I'll speak to the board, and the point I'm stating for sharing that is not to cause a debate between sides. What I'm asking of our community, those who are listening, because I'm hearing from a lot of you, and those who are here, my job with this team working with you is to navigate this space. And what we have to do, because there's only so much time today to deal with all the dynamics that exist, especially the deep and passionate responses, is to actually rely on, as I said last meeting, and I'll say it again, the experts, and I'll say it even further, because we have to. Again, I will state that I, working with you, have to. Now, what I will say to you as a board is that, again, we don't just defer. I'm going to now go to the Charlotte Wood example because it's very unfortunate, and I apologize very much, and it cannot ever happen again. But let me tell you exactly what we learned today and what we worked through today to show that when something doesn't make sense, we also push. And this is the piece of the puzzle that doesn't make sense. And when I say it, I am not critiquing our public health guidance, or our public health partners, nor would I want us to be critical, even though I take full responsibility, and that is this. We're trying to figure out how to be contact tracers. We must be contact tracers. What I'm saying to you as our board is the public health requirements right now are only 2: masking and contact tracing. What I'm saying is these are what you will see on every website. We've been given the legal realities of it. As I've said earlier, that is what we need to follow. But again, where I'm going with this is we do push, because when someone is exposed, we may not hear about it for a few days because there might be a weekend, or they may not have been tested and such. Then we learn. Then we inform. And what we were working on with public health today is to say the Charlotte Wood matter was because there was a lack of clarity regarding when that date was when a student needed to be tested in order to return. And again, it was not the intention of the amazing staff there. They were under a significant amount of pressure, so I want to state that publicly. We take responsibility for the fact that that process did not go well, and we were on the phone with public health to say we need to work through this, and we did. So Charlotte Wood got a letter this evening. The rest of the system will hear about this tomorrow because I'm making this comment tonight, that we have tightened up that process. But there are some things yet again, and I trust based upon the comments you've heard that this won't necessarily be accepted. The fact that there are different paths in this situation for those who are vaccinated or unvaccinated is not a San Ramon Valley Unified School District decision. Secondly, there is a difference between being in a masked contact situation and being in an unmasked contact situation. Again, from public health. There were some in our community that felt that last communication was actually wearing masks outside. I want to be clear that I and we are not requiring masks outside. What that message was intended to state is we were receiving anger from other constituents who were saying, if I knew that my child might be able to follow a different quarantine path should my child have been vaccinated, masked outside, I would have told my child to mask outside. So all we were saying in that particular communication, if you look at it again, is not that a parent has to do that outside. What we said was that if you do, it puts the whole situation, should the other children be masked, in that part of the quarantine process. That is different than if you're in an unmasked situation. Now, what I just said is so complex, and it is hard to understand, and we have asked our public health colleagues to help us clarify this so that we can get it right, because that is our commitment. What I'm saying, so where I'm going with this is, it's okay, I'm a patient speaker. Where I'm going with this is, I hear the concerns that are communicated tonight and the anger that has been shared. I hear the anger of others, have very different views. I'm hearing from families who are frightened right now, which again may not be the loudest experience in the room. And our job, mine in relationship to you, is not to do anything but make decisions where the authority rests, mine to you, communicate when the authority comes from someone else, ensure that I bring to you the best information, as unpopular as it may be to some. But I actually want all of our community to understand what it is we're trying to do, because this again will be my closing comment. So I will say that at every meeting of public health that I attend every Monday, and every meeting of the state superintendent group that I attend every Thursday, all the different perspectives of the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, including the perspective you heard tonight, is put on the table. And I say that with absolute sincerity. I don't hide what the challenges are in our community. I do ask hard questions of our public health officers. They are amazing partners in terms of how they work with us, and we're doing the very best we can under those circumstances. So I'll leave it to say that, again, I hope that these wonderful people, and I got in trouble for saying wonderful at the last meeting, but I still believe that everyone deserves their perspective, including those that wouldn't like me to say that. Take those voices to the places where the authority rests. And I trust, as I've said to the community, if we are told that something needs to shift that is in our authority, then obviously you make that decision. And if it's not in our authority, I'll explain what is the truth and why. And we'll just do our very best to communicate it as candidly as possible. So President Ordway, those are my comments for tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we're going to move.
President Ordway, I apologize because that is very important. I have Executive Director John Campopiano and I have been texting since that came up. We did hear different information, which obviously is different than what you experienced. He promises to connect with anyone here and connect Principal Bridget Voorhees to anyone who needs to talk tomorrow, because we are very sorry should that have happened. It was not what I heard a couple of hours ago, but I respect that experience and we'll get to the bottom. And I will close by saying that the person, I think he was right there. Where did John Campopiano go? Thank you. Please, if you wouldn't mind connecting with our executive director, because he actually oversees Charlotte Wood, and he will make all the connections for us. So thank you for bringing it forward. I should probably stop answering questions, but I'll just say that
Well,
I'll turn this over to you.
Okay, I think that it's in of the time, and we do have other business to do. Yeah. Right, but you can actually reach out to Dr. Malloy individually another time.
We should.
Okay. Yeah, but it's right. Yeah. Okay, we're moving on to 9.6 for our association president's report. For any more comments and questions, please, you can email us.
Hello, good evening. I'm Tammy Castelluccio. I'm the president of the California School Employees Association, and I represent all of the support staff at our site, including technical, child nutrition, paraeducators, clerical, I said that. Thank you. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank the staff at Charlotte Wood who today came into a situation that they were very unclear in how to handle in some instances, but they handled it with as much care as they could. And that was a hard spot for them to be in. So I want to thank them, Bridget, the principal, as well as the rest of the staff that was in the office or on site that was helping with that. I also want to thank Zetta Riker, our new child nutrition director. I was so glad that she came to present. And we're looking forward to building that relationship and knowing that the program's going to grow and change, and we're very excited about that. I follow social media, and a parent had posted the other day about, well, how does your student feel about school lunches? And of course, my heart sank, and I thought, oh my gosh. And I can honestly say that it was nothing but positive comments from our community, talking to each other about the food that they were providing, what meals their kids liked and didn't, understanding the struggle with being short-staffed. And so I was very happy to see that. So I want to thank our parent community for that support. I also want to thank all of our classified employees, technical, child nutrition, office staff, paraeducators that work every day with our students. And they've been put in a difficult spot for the last year and a half. And I think they've risen to the occasion and have proven to our district and our community that they are working for what is best for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Okay, now Laura.
Good evening, everybody. A hot seat, huh? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Laura Finco. I am the president of the San Ramon Valley Education Association, representing the nearly 1,700 non-managerial certificated personnel in this district. I am a 34-year veteran teacher. Started my career in Hayward, where I was an elementary science specialist and a high school biology 9th and 10th grade, taught at Hayward High. And then I moved over to San Leandro, where I taught at John Muir Middle School for several years before coming to San Ramon, where I've spent my years since 1994. I got involved in the union because I am very passionate about students. My first union experience, I was working at Marine World Africa USA in Redwood City, so it kind of dates me a little bit. And there was a company that owned the property that Marine World was on, and they wanted to rightfully repurpose the land so that it was going to be office developments instead of a zoological and aquarium park. And so at that time, I was a member of the AFL-CIO union. Didn't even realize that I was a union member until that time. And we took an action to help the public understand the importance of having this community park, Marine World, in Redwood City, and that if and when we did have to move, we needed time to be able to do it right. And that was my first union action. What I saw was that there was a real combination between speaking up for what we believe to be right and educating people in a manner that helped them see that there are very many different paths and that we not always agree, but that when you talk, listen, and work together, you can come up with solutions. And so seeing that power of partnership, it really sparked me to want to get more involved in the union. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Laura Finco. I'm a daughter, I'm a wife, and yes, I was hurrying in to get in here because I thought I was running late. And when I did, I kicked some papers. That's what you heard the one speaker allude to, and knocked over. For that, I do apologize. I apologized at the moment that it happened, and I apologize once again. I know they're not here anymore, but it was not an intentional act, as some people thought. One of the things that I think is real important for us to understand is that the passion that I heard tonight, I really honor. I don't necessarily agree with what every speaker said here tonight, but I heard heart. And I think, knowing the people that I know here, I know that you heard it as well. You heard anger, you heard desperation, you heard pleas, but I also know that we have to hear, we have to listen, and I do believe that there will be conversations that hopefully will be able to come up with some solutions. The reason that I have this hope is because, well, all I really needed to know, I learned in kindergarten, and I wanted to share that with you tonight. It's not what I was originally going to speak about tonight, but I think it's very appropriate for my message. All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten. All I really need to know about how to live and what to do and how to be, I learned in kindergarten. Wisdom was not at the top of the graduate school mountain, but there in the sand pile at Sunday school. These are the things I learned. Share everything. Play fair. Don't hit people. Put things back where you found them. Clean up your own mess. Don't take things that aren't yours. Say you're sorry when you hurt somebody. Wash your hands before you eat. Flush. Warm cookies and cold milk are good for you. Live a balanced life. Learn some, think some, draw, paint, sing, dance, play, and work every day. Some. Take a nap every afternoon. When you go out into the world, watch out for traffic. Hold hands. Stick together. Be aware of wonder. And then remember the Dick and Jane books and the first words you learned, the biggest word of all, look. Everything you need to know is there somewhere. The golden rule, and love, and basic, ecology, equality, sane living. Take any of those items and extrapolate into it sophisticated adult terms and apply it to your family life, your work, or your government, or your world, and it holds true, clear, and firm. Think what a better world it would be if the whole world, had cookies and milk about 3 o'clock every afternoon and then lay down to take a nap. And it is still true, no matter how old you are, when you go out into the world, it is best to hold hands and stick together. Frankly, on behalf of the San Ramon Valley Education Association, I look forward to the partnerships that we have with our management partners, with our brothers and sisters in labor, and with our community. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a public comment on this item. Helen of Doty Valley.
It is really sad tonight because we have to beat up each other. This really didn't have to be. Who failed us? It was those people that, Dr. Malloy, you said that are your good partners, the CDC officials. I remember there was a CDC official in Santa Clara County last year. She told us, don't touch your nose, don't touch your eyes. What does she do next? She goes ahead and she licks her finger. Is she fired? No. She's still there. I'm here because I care about our teachers, our classified staff. Despite everything, I know that they worked really hard. So I want to thank everyone at our school sites. No matter whether we agree or we disagree, I trust that we are Americans, and I trust that they did what they could. It is just really sad that what binds us together, what united us together, some people talked about Constitution, some talked about values, are no longer there. What happened? What happened? What is your guiding light now? What is your definition now for equity? Why is equity means everyone has to be equal? Why isn't equity defined as meeting people's needs? If I need you to pat me on the head, you pat me on my head. But if I don't want you to pat me on my head, and I don't need you to pat me on my head, and you insist on patting me on my head, is that equity? That, of course, I'm talking about our lunch program. I call that a theft program because it's stealing tax money.
Excuse me, Helen. Your comments need to be tied to this agenda item.
I am, because it is, tied to all the teachers and staff. That's their work.
Just make sure they're tied to the comments made by the president.
Thank you.
This evening.
I want to ask you to please fight that business that is going to open up, because it's going to infect a lot of teachers. I love our teachers. And I also respect teachers' freedom to choose whether they want to wear masks or whether they want to, vaccinate. Teachers are human beings. I care about our teachers. Just because they need a job doesn't mean that they have to forfeit their humanity, that their rights to freedom, just like our soldier, just like everyone. Maybe it's the communist Chinese here who are so afraid, like me. We know, what politics can do. Need to learn how to love each other instead of those people trying to always hold on to power and influence. That's what California is right now. It's a colony. It's an offshore colony of communist China, which is why we're fighting each other.
Thank you, Helen. That's 3
Thank
minutes.
you.
Okay, so we're moving on to 10.0. So 10.1 is consideration of adoption of resolution 5/122, approval of provisional internship permit or PIP requests. That's a mouthful. Okay,
Thank you, President Ordway. This is a fairly routine item. So we've hired 5 additional teachers on an emergency credential that we refer to as a PIP, a provisional internship permit. So we're asking tonight, as required by the California Department of Education, that the board take action as an action item on the agenda to approve this resolution to employ these individuals for the 21-22 school year. Thank you.
Move approval.
I'll second.
The motion was by Board Member Mintz and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Call out vote. Student Board Member Batra,
Aye.
Board Member Clark, Board Member Bratt,
Aye.
Board Member Hurd,
Aye.
Board Member Mintz,
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay, thank you. And 10.2, consideration of adoption of the 21-22 annual resolutions. Verse 9/21-22 through 21-22. Superintendent Malloy.
President Ordway, in listening to some of our own senior team cabinet members and actually hearing from some of you individually, I'm wondering if we could propose something different. This list of resolutions comes from historical resolutions that have passed and a few additional ones from last year. But the proposal I'm putting on the table is that we actually have like a workshop meeting discussion to talk about resolutions, to talk about which ones might need to be added, how we might wish to proceed, because again, we were starting to hear that there's a number of you who are interested in that discussion, and bringing this forward for approval tonight, from my perspective, seems premature. So the recommendation that came late, because it happened after the agenda went out, is that we pause this item for approval. We plan a public meeting where we could have a discussion about that, whether that's at one of our meetings or at a specific workshop. And then we bring it back to approval once you've had a little bit more time as a board to discuss it, because of there being some interest that I learned about. And of course, when I learn about that, it needs to happen in a public space following all Brown Act requirements. So that's why I'm proposing that we pause and take a different tact. It's the will of the board.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea only because I think, well, I think there's some that we should probably discuss a little bit more, and because it is like way before even my time. And then I think there's one missing, career technical one. I'm not sure. So I think that it would be nice to.
I would agree, except that a few of them affect resolutions that would be in effect, I think, as early as September, maybe October. I'm wondering if some of the early ones might want to approve so that we don't miss the whole year on them by waiting.
Thank you. I did forget something at this hour. The thought would be that if we just approved September and October to be safe, and if there's change, if we are able to have that meeting and a change comes, we could always make that change. But at least if we approve September and October, we can proceed with your direction appropriately. If that's okay with all of you after you discuss it.
Yeah, I would like the opportunity to be able to discuss the language in the existing resolutions, as well as have an opportunity to look at other resolutions that might be missing, or that we might want to have a discussion about perhaps adding in.
So, so we're looking at then wanting to approve the September and October one. So that would be Hispanic Heritage Month, Attendance Month, which we just had, right, the presentation. Then Dyslexia Awareness Month, National Bullying Month, School Administrator Week, and Digital Citizen Week, right? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Yeah. Yes.
If there's a slight revision to any of the months or resolutions which relate to a period beyond October, should those revisions be suggested now, or shall I wait till the workshop?
What I would suggest, if you pass this direction, is that it would wait to the workshop so that you can have a full conversation, just because other trustees, other board members might also have an interest to discuss things that they'd like to consider as well.
Okay, great. So, do I have?
You want to make a motion,
Motion
on proceeding with that, but
with-
then come circle back and talk about any that we would be approving?
Yes.
Are we dividing it into two motions to wait and then to?
And can I ask a quick question? So with the September and October resolutions, would we have an opportunity at the workshop to be able to review those in hindsight, maybe to then approve them for the 2022 year?
I would say yes, that I think it's important for you to look at all of them and then set the calendar, if you will. And even if we've already just done one, it could be adjusted for the future if you wanted.
And I think it would be appropriate, given the presentation we had about the committee process, that these resolutions would be having some work back in those committees, not just being reviewed at our level, but really where the needs for the resolutions are arising.
I'll just add that, with these resolutions, we've always made the point that it's not really just about these individual days or weeks or months. This is our opportunity to focus some attention, but the expectation is we live these out as a district and as a community. And so always trying to bring these back to not just being a written resolution on the wall, but really directing action throughout the district. I'm very much in favor also of taking that stronger look and making sure that we've, as you say, bring it all together with the strategic planning process.
Yeah.
If I could just add that I think that that's where, in a meeting fashion, the cabinet can also share some of our perspectives on how we feel we can do this effectively in response to your direction. So in other words, if we want to do more to ensure that our schools are engaged and connected, it may mean that we propose that we look at the volume of resolutions so that we can ensure we do things well, or that we pull some things together, if that makes sense. But again, I think it would be best to happen where we focus on that topic, and it's more of a discussion process that allows you to put your ideas on the table and so forth.
Okay, so there are two. So I guess the first, right? The first motion would be to pause our, all right, 10.2 item, right, for the adoption of this.
So I'll make a motion to table the approval of the resolutions until we have time to further look into them.
I'll second.
The motion was made by Board Member Clark and seconded by Board Member Bratt. Call out vote. Student Board Member Batra?
Aye.
Board Member Clark?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz? Board Member Ordway?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
And then we, I have a motion to then go ahead and approve the resolutions that are the ones I had read earlier from September through October of this year.
I'll make that motion, but I do want to entertain 2 additions to the dyslexia resolution that I discussed with Deborah Pettish and Kate Nolda earlier today. So the 3 of us can kind of put those forward as suggestions to improve that resolution.
Share what that is.
I would be happy to. I wasn't sure if I should put her in the discussion. Okay, I'll do it in the motion. So if you have that resolution open, the very last whereas in it kind of implies that, well, it states that early intervention of dyslexia is critical for ensuring that individuals with dyslexia receive evidence-based intervention. It would be stronger if it talked about instruction, because, and then if you look at the rest of the whereas, it talks about ways to continue supporting students with dyslexia, but it doesn't really convey the idea that with proper instruction, you can deal with their dyslexia. And so the addition I wanted to make was to say, whereas early identification of dyslexia is critical for ensuring that individuals with dyslexia receive, inserting the focused evidence-based instruction that is necessary for them to acquire foundational reading and writing skills. The support, and then the rest of it is the same, that leads to the promotion of self-awareness and self-empowerment and the necessary accommodations so as to ensure school and life success. And then another suggestion that our Assistant Special Ed Director, Kate Nolda, suggested was that dyslexia doesn't only affect reading, and it's really focused on reading. And so to the 3rd whereas, she suggested, and Deb and I liked also, that we add to that, after the word background knowledge, that can impact all areas of academic subjects. All areas, I think we've got an extra word in there, that can impact all academic areas is what we want, because it can affect math and science and history and foreign language and anything else, because it's a language-based disability. So I have that written out, Cindy, I can just hand it to you.
Okay, that was a motion from.
I'll second.
Great.
And just to be clear, we're approving resolutions number 9 through 14. And then the motion was made, can we clarify, please, who made the motion?
I made the motion and Kim seconded.
Thank you. The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Mintz. Call out votes. Student Board Member Batra?
Aye.
Board Member Clark?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz?
Aye.
Board Member Ordway?
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0.
Okay.
Can I make a motion that we extend our meeting until 10:15?
yeah.
Just so we can get through the final portion?
I'll second.
Thank you. The motion was made by Board Member Mintz and seconded by Board Member Hurd to extend the meeting till 10:15. Call out vote. Student Board?
Aye.
Board Member Clark?
Aye.
Board Member Bratt?
Aye.
Board Member Hurd?
Aye.
Board Member Mintz?
Aye.
Board Member Ordway?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Now come to 12.0 administrative matters, 12.1 board reports. Ronette, do you have a report for us?
Yes. All right. So over the past couple of weeks, we have began our process moving forward with the Student Senate. We've been able to establish a fully functional Student Senate with around 30 kids from almost all middle schools and high schools. We have 2 representatives from each middle school and 3 from each high school. So insofar, we've held 2 meetings, the first of which was a meet and greet to get to know everybody, introduce them to the Senate, to its responsibilities and how they will be functioning throughout the year. The second meeting, we were actually able to devise umbrella groups. So we will have groups within the Senate which will be focusing on issues related to, first, in-person learning, second, mental health, also relating to social and emotional well-being, third, increasing student voice, and fourth, increasing equity. Aside from that, we were also able to discuss the board agenda, including some of the resolutions, and I will bring up the revisions during the workshop as necessary. For our second meeting, we were able to have Mr. Campapiano and Hong Nguyen from the equity department, I believe. And we were able to have them share some information about how the district is moving to increase student voice, how we're moving to work together and really enhance upon the student experience throughout this year. So from the Student Senate, we actually had multiple students conduct surveys on campuses specifically related to Schoology. And there were multiple concerns on this, as we alluded to earlier. It is a new system, and everybody's getting used to it, and that includes students, but it also includes teachers. So there have been requests for a new system, and I know that there are many discussions around that to be had. If that's a possibility, I know it can be difficult. But if not, there are many calls for more education on how to use Schoology for teachers and students. So in the situation in which switching to a new system or bringing back the old systems with Google Classroom or Schooloop, for example, are inherently very difficult, we would like to see a little bit more learning and gaining some familiarity with the platform if possible. Aside from that, within the Student Senate, Risha, the Student Senate Chair, and I plan to meet with the principals on Monday in order to prepare them for what the Student Senate entails, help them understand what they'll be doing on campus with the senators, and have them set up meetings with senators following every Student Senate and school board meeting. On my own, apart from the Student Senate, I will be joining LCAP, which is the Local Control and Accountability Plan Committee. I also gauged some concerns on school lunches, which I was able to bring up within a little bit of questioning. Mainly the concerns were related to long lines, food, which they were uncertain about, and lots of food wastage, which has been inherently related to that. There have been masking concerns. Both sides, definitely, which we've been hearing at the meetings ourselves and within public comments, but also similar perspectives in school. There are a few concerns about inconsistent indoor and outdoor policies, considering that students are very close to each other outdoors as well as indoors. So there have been questions about the efficacy, but there have also been questions about creating more stringent guidelines. So if that's a discussion to be had in the future, there are multiple student perspectives on that, as there are multiple community perspectives on that. There have also been concerns about contact tracing, which can relate a little bit to the Charlotte Wood incident, which I was only informed of after getting to today's meeting. So students would like to know a little bit faster on the COVID-19 information on whether they've been infected or potentially exposed. I understand that it can be difficult on weekends, for example, if you're only finding out much later, but it is hard to see who has been in contact, since we can't necessarily just see who sits around them in the classroom. Since students move around the classroom, they interact outside of the classroom. So there might have to be a conversation about how we can further analyze the direction of informing people who may have been impacted or contacted with COVID-19 while maintaining the privacy of the individuals who have been infected. Finally, there have been some issues with computer distribution. Many students don't have school-issued computers and district-issued computers. And in multiple classes, those are required in order to complete various assignments. So that can be a major issue, which is impeding them from doing some of their schoolwork. If there is a process, which I believe there is within school sites themselves, to expedite the process of getting a school issued laptop to a student, I believe that this should be made a little bit more widely available and a little bit faster, just to make sure that students are able to really hit the ground running, because there are some confusions, whether it's with computer distribution, whether it's with Schoology, or whether it's with a variety of other things. But overall, I'm really happy that I've been able to be back on campus. At the last school board meeting, I had not started school as yet, but there is definitely a positive vibe across all campuses from what I'm hearing. That grateful to be back at school. The teachers are ecstatic to have children back in school. And I really think that it has been beneficial for mental health and for learning to have students in the classroom. And I really appreciate the effort to getting us all back together at full capacity and full swing, which started on August 10th and continuing pretty well on until now and hopefully until the future. So thank you, and that is my report.
Okay, thank you so much, Ronit. Okay, I do. Okay, this is 12.1 board report. I have a card, but it's to speak on agenda item 12.1. So you want to speak directly on? Okay. So Helen of Doty Valley. Wasn't sure if all of us give our reports and then you would want to.
Hello, Student Board Member Batra. First of all, I want to thank you for volunteering your time. I'm very impressed with all the questions you have addressed tonight, and I think you are a very eloquent person, so we're very lucky to have you. I do want to make a couple of requests. Number one, I would like you to please contact each school site to establish a student contact proxy for you. You would have direct email address and contact information, because I would like you to please reach out to the Charlottewood community. Those students that I heard tonight are very young in age. I am extremely concerned about, number one, how to continue school. From a couple of parents here, it doesn't seem like our school district told them how their students are able to continue their education. It was not a fault of theirs, right? Because they're impacted by somebody else's positive, so they should not be victimized. Please reach out to them and make sure they know how to continue school. As you know, school is such a blessing. Education is a blessing to everyone. And I also would like you to please reach out, because these children are extremely young. Please address their mental social wellness. These children should not be treated like they were criminals. I was appalled. What is that? They, nobody called the parents? That doesn't even sound like SRVUSD. What happened? Please get to the bottom of this. And if you don't want to publicly disclose what happened, as a community, I demand that you email everyone, because this is a precedence. Precedence meaning whatever that was failed needs to be rectified, because it's setting precedence. This should not happen to anyone. You keep talking about equity. If today I was a white person, none of these people have hearts. Nobody said about racism. If I were them, I were white, I would accuse you of a racism. Look at you. You're the president. You're Asian. All white. What's up with that? Racial equity? Please take care of them. Thank you so much.
Hey, Board Member Clark.
Echoing what Ronit alluded to, I'm so happy to see all the kids back in school and on the campuses. And I know we had some things we have to work through as things keep changing and information becomes available. But I want to say a big thank you to our principals, our office managers, our nurses, and our child nutrition workers, along with our teachers, because these are the people that are on the front lines with our kids. And they're the ones who are working so hard to keep everybody safe, to run the school efficiently, and make sure that we deliver the best that we can, absolutely, in the education of our children. So I want to say a big thank you to them and all of the administrative staff, because I know that they're working 24/7, and I don't think a lot of times the parent community doesn't get to see that. We're not aware of it. So I want to say a big thank you to them. And
I'm looking forward to meeting with the town of Danville this week as I'm the liaison, and they are partners of ours in all that we do in the school district. Other than that, I think that's it for me.
Thank you. I had the pleasure of meeting with the City of San Ramon in a liaison meeting with Dr. Malloy and President Ordway, excuse me. And we also did a San Ramon City update. This was Friday morning. And we're able to talk about the return to school as well as the strategic plan. I also attended the Asian Pacific Islander School Board Member Association meeting with Dr. Malloy, and had the opportunity to meet with several other board members from around the state and discuss reopening and COVID compliance and various other issues that we've come across. And all of us, I believe, attended the new teacher breakfast, welcome breakfast that was 3 weeks ago, the Friday before school started. And I just want to say a warm welcome to all of our new staff. We're really grateful that you've come on board, and we need as many teachers and staff. I know that we've had some difficulty with recruiting just because of the number of teachers and the ratio that we've been afforded with the extra income that we've been given, so extra funding. And then lastly, I want to just say a huge thank you to everyone who's really helped with this transition back to in-person learning, as well as the transition to the virtual academy and independent study. And I appreciate everyone's patience, the teachers' patience, students' patience, families' patience. This has been a really, really big, heavy lift, very complicated. And I think that everyone's doing a great job, and I really appreciate it. So, and I also want to say that it's just wonderful to see those students back on campus, see my own kids back on campus and back in the classroom, and the extracurricular activities that are available to them and to our independent study and virtual academy students. The smiles on their faces just tells it all. So, thank you.
Oh, I guess I have to extend the time.
Okay, I'll move that we extend for 10 minutes to 10:30 just to cover it.
Second.
The motion was made by Board Member Hurd and seconded by Board Member Mintz. Call up vote. Student Board Member Batra.
Aye.
Board Member Clark.
Aye.
Board Member Bratt.
Aye.
Board Member Hurd.
Aye.
Board Member Mintz.
Aye.
Board Member Ordway.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
So for my report, I would echo everything that Trustee Clark and Trustee Bratt said about the heavy lift on the part of all of our staff at the site level, at the district level. It's wonderful to have our children back in school, and the extra complexity that the Delta variant brought to reopening, had to be dealt with. And a lot of that came to bear just in the month of July. The one department that I can add to that I witnessed some, in addition to the ones you guys mentioned, was human resources. I was here for some negotiation related meetings and was watching Melanie and Keith and their staffs just running through getting additional teachers to staff the virtual academy, because that program in particular was changing in real time. And the principal, Rose, was also with us, and she was like, I have to assign kids to class, and it was all down to the last minute. So while there were blips, there were really good reasons for those blips. And I too apologize to families for the difficulty that they dealt with, but I also hope that people understand that everyone who is part of the San Ramon Valley Unified School District works their hardest, does their best, doesn't always come out perfectly, but they are on the phone and on the email trying to pick up the pieces as soon as they're aware of problems. I'd also like to compliment Dr. Roy and Hong Wen for their presentation to the San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition yesterday. They got a chance to talk about our strategic directions. And then in addition to the two of them, the brand new superintendent from Dublin Unified talked. And so it was really interesting seeing the two of them, or the three of them, playing off of each other's comments. And that was really interesting. And then one more little thing that's kind of forward looking and I think very hopeful is the San Ramon Valley Council of PTAs is celebrating the 20th anniversary of the formation of the Special Needs Committee back in 2001-2. And that committee has been part of the fabric of San Ramon Valley Unified for so long. We kind of take it for granted, but it was really avant-garde at the time. And with a lot of the work I do in special needs and in advocacy in that area, it's still unique. And so for us to be celebrating that 20-year milestone is really special. And they plan to do activities throughout the year to draw attention to that. That's all I have.
Thank you. I don't have much to report. The one thing I wanted to do, though, was acknowledge our student board members' depth and breadth of comments, and acknowledge the work of the newly formed Student Senate. The report that you gave is exactly the kind of thing that we've been hoping for so long. And it's not a negative to the kinds of reports that previous student members have provided us, but that mainly had to do with student activities on campus, just kind of inform us about the different, ins and outs of what was going on campus. Whereas today's report really got to the heart of a lot of student type issues, and really looking forward to that type of input and feedback at future board meetings. So thank you very much for everything you've been doing, and really look forward to hearing more about your work and the work of the Student Senate and the advisors that help you. So thank you very much.
Okay, and yeah, I mean, everyone's kind of said everything, but thank you. I want to thank everyone, just like all my colleagues, in bringing our students back to school. It's been challenging. My expectation was right back in the early summer that this was going to be a slam dunk. Well, it hasn't. It hasn't been at all. But I am very glad that we're able to get our students and teachers and staff and everyone back in school. There are still challenges, but I think that we're working through them. I think the district is working very hard, so thank you for everyone at school sites, the district, everyone. I too would like to apologize for, along with Dr. Malloy and Rachel had mentioned, apologize for the experiences that our families, our students and family had to go through today at Charlottewood, and maybe even all the maybe the maneuvering at other school sites too. I know it's very frustrating, so want to apologize for that. I guess the only thing, I attended a couple of different things, right, along with my colleagues that they had mentioned. I guess the only other thing that I'd like to add is I attended, I guess, the Monday session for our San Ramon Valley Education Foundation. So I want to kind of give a prop to the Run for Education. They're doing it virtually again this year. And I also like to thank, of course, all the affiliates at our school sites on working with the foundation to support our school and our students. So that's it. Any other report? No, I know you had a long report. Yeah. Okay then. If nothing else, this meeting is adjourned.